Morning. We are ready and here. Nice to see everyone. I will officially call to order the regular meeting of the Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors, May 27, 2026, here in Palm Desert. And would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just want to say, before we do roll call, that welcome Alex Sanchez, our new board member. This is your first meeting.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It'll be a good one.
It'll be a great one. So roll call, please.
Yes, good morning, President Powell,
Here.
Vice President Estrada,
Here.
Director Bianco,
Here.
Director Aguilar,
Here.
and Director Sanchez.
Here.
Thank you.
We're all here. We have a quorum. So for today's additions, deletions, I do want to say, because I know we have quite a few people here for item 8A, that we will move that ahead so that we'll consider 8A right after the consent calendar. So before we get to the public hearings, just to be kind to everyone's time. Do we have any other additions or deletions or adjustments for today's agenda?
No, sir. That would be the only one.
That's the only one. So with the exception of item 8A, do we have anyone wishing to make public comment at this time? Yes.
We do, Mr. President. I have 2 speaker cards. So if
Thank-
there's others after that, we can go in that order.
Yeah,
but
okay. All right, go ahead and just call them from the
First
top.
speaker we have, I believe, is Leonard Anaya.
Are those tied to?
I don't know.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've never done this.
Can you? There you go.
I've never done this, but this is my livelihood. And so I'm here on that. Good morning. My name is Leonard Anaya, owner of Desert Rain Water Truck Service. I am here today regarding the bid protest I submitted on May 22nd, 2026 concerning our RFB 2026-7 4,000-gallon water trucks with operators. The bid opening was May 18th, 2026. I would like the board to be aware of concern I have regarding the transparency, fairness, competitiveness, compliance of the procurement process associated with this project. Specifically, I am requesting clarification and review regarding bids submitted by Pedro Ochoa and Valley Water Trucks, which are owned and operated by brothers. As I believe, and I'm nervous, believe
okay.
there may be circumstances that warrant additional examination to determine whether the procurement process fully complied with competitive bidding standards, ethic requirements, conflict of interest, policies, and safeguards intended to prevent collusion or monopolization within the bidding process. I respectfully request that the board conduct an independent review of the procurement process to confirm that all applicable procedures, qualifications, and competitive bidding requirements were properly followed and that all bidders were provided a fair, equal opportunity to compete. In addition, I have concerns regarding whether all operators assigned to these water trucks possess the appropriate commercial licensing, certification, qualifications, requirements, and legal to operate the equipment under applicable regulations. Facts right here. Pedro Ochoa, currently, his rate, $78.95, went down to $75. That's $3.95 that he went down. His brother, which he owns, Valley Water Trucks, current $80.50, went down $7.25. Pedro went down $3.95. His brother went down $5.25. And they both are within 25 cents. He's 75, Pedro, his brother, 75.25. That's, to me, that's collusion. A quarter just a nickel from each other. Within the current economy, these pricing reductions raise serious concerns. Fuel costs, general liability, insurance, premiums, labor expenses, and operating costs have all increased substantially. Under these economic conditions, such coordinated reductions to nearly identical pricing do not appear reasonable or independently determined through fair market competition. And I thank you for your time. And I've never done this, but when you're pushed and pushed and pushed, and they want to cut your legs from under you and take away your bread and butter, I take this to heart.
Okay, Mr. Naya, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Can you please send that letter in to the board, please?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Send that letter into the board.
If you can email that to me.
Yeah, email us.
Yes, okay.
Please,
we can
thank
see
you.
that.
Or you
Thank
can
you.
just give her a copy. Yeah. That way we have it.
Thank you. Again, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
sorry
you.
for the circumstances that brought you in, but I think you did fine. And I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, sir.
Staff is aware of this issue, and it is supposed to be on the agenda for our next regular meeting on the 23rd. At least that's what I thought I heard from staff. So
It's going to be in 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks, on the 23rd. Yeah. Okay. So if you're available to come back then, we'd appreciate it. Just to listen in.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Is there another?
I can, if you want to wait, I can have staff.
Thank you. All right. Do we have others?
We
public
do.
comment
Our
at
next
this time?
speaker is Jason Jackson.
Jason Jackson.
Good morning, Honorable President and board members. My name is Jason Jackson, President and CEO of Southwest Security, a local company with offices in Indio and El Centro, California. We employ approximately 250 local employees, including 8 employees who directly service your contract here at CBWD. I'm here today to respectfully request your assistance in helping preserve those jobs for those 8 employees. On April 10th, 2026, the district released RFP number 2026-08 for armed and unarmed security services. Proposals were due May 7th at 2 p.m. I personally submitted our proposal at approximately 4:30 a.m. that morning. Later, at approximately 7:45 a.m., I received notice from Ms. Janet Aceves that Addendum 1 had included a revised cost sheet. Unfortunately, I had missed the revised cost sheet, which was included in and followed numbered pages 1 through 9. These were the district's answers to questions from prospective bidders. What followed the 9 pages was 3 pages of a revised cost sheet. That oversight was entirely on my responsibility. Once I discovered the revised cost sheet, I completed it immediately and sent it to my operations manager, Ms. Victoria Corrales, for upload. At the time, I was out to sea and had limited internet access, which precluded me from uploading to the Planet Bids. Ms. Corrales experienced some technical issues with regards to uploading to Planet Bids, contacted Mrs. Aceves, who confirmed the documents had been uploaded but could not verify if the revised cost sheet had been uploaded or if it was an original one. To ensure accuracy, Ms. Corrales withdrew and resubmitted the proposal before 2 p.m. deadline. Although Planet Bids confirmed acceptance at 1:59 p.m., we believe that the revised cost sheet did not fully upload in time and was cut off, and the system defaulted to the original sheet. As a result, Southwest Security was deemed non-responsive. I spoke with Ms. Kim Baker on May 8th and submitted a written request on May 11th asking the district to consider Section 10.1 of the RFP, which allows the district to waive informalities, immaterial defects, and technicalities, or request additional information prior to the final selection. Because the cost sheet revision had no real impact to the overall cost, I believe that this issue could have been cured without affecting the integrity of the process. This request was denied on May 19th. I respectfully ask the board to review this matter and consider agendizing it for a future meeting so the district may evaluate whether Section 10.1 can be applied to waive this immaterial deviation and allow my proposal to be scored by the committee. In closing, Southwest Security has proudly provided security services to the district for the past 15 years. I believe our experience, our local presence, our established infrastructure, makes us uniquely qualified and highly competitive both in service and in price. I respectfully ask for your assistance in this matter, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And again, I believe staff has got this on the agenda for the 23rd. And apologies for having you come in, but I thought you also did a good job in representing yourself.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Do we have others, public speakers at this time?
On general public comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Separate from that, okay.
All right.
Okay, I don't have a list, so I guess I'll have the gentleman come up first that raised his hand, and then after that, Tabitha.
Popular.
Hello, my name is Cameron Eglinton. I'm from a little family fish farm in Desert Hot Springs called Blue Beyond Fisheries. I submitted an email, and I just wanted to see if the board would consider helping us with some relief on our rack, because we believe we recharge a lot of our water by just putting it back into the ground, and just wanted to see if there's any way we could possibly discuss getting some help, because times are tough.
So this item is actually on the agenda.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
a hearing. It's
Okay.
a public hearing. So
Ah.
you've said your piece, but you can say it again if you'd like during the hearing. But yeah, we do have that agendized for today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When is that?
That
Sorry.
is item 7B. So it'll be up shortly.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. And then Tabitha, you said you had some general public comment. Come on up.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
So, I want to speak about something broader today to start us off, because the more I dig to get answers to questions that I feel I should never have had to ask in the first place, the more I find things that concern me. So, the Coachella Valley Water District, and I brought this up at the last meeting, is named in a 59-page development agreement with the city of Coachella as the water provider for a data center with Stronghold. I understand the district's published rate model relies on industrial customers offsetting the cost burden so that domestic users do not see increases. That's referenced in your own public rate plan. And that's the deal that ratepayers were told they were in. But then I look at who's in the room when these deals are being made, and I find the same law firm on almost every single side of the table: Best, and Krieger. They represent this district, and the same firm represents more than 10 different municipalities and utilities in our valley. Your own general counsel sits on a joint powers authority, I believe still with Mr. Barrett, where BBK, I believe, is also the attorney for it. I don't necessarily see how, as a member of the public, on its face it seems very terrifying, because I don't understand how one lawyer, even a law firm that doesn't seem to have a ton of locations, can have 15 sets of ratepayers' best interests at heart at the same time. It doesn't seem like the math on that works. And from what I have found, the same firm is now sitting on both sides of the data center, and Coachella Valley Water District is named in it. And then I look at the developer side, and it seems to be feeling more like a developer say-goes world, and those moments keep tracing back to the same firm. So on its face, to me, as a layperson, it looks like it's BBK presenting as a massive structural problem, or there's something else behind the scenes that's moving along among staff who lead our boards with the public's trust and public's information, and that they're being influenced in ways that bend towards developers. And either way, the public is the one that's having to dig to find more understanding and clarity, and at the end of the day, water is the most essential resource on the planet, and it's absolutely finite. So I would appreciate it if collectively all of you started to question everything, because something doesn't seem like it's right, and our entire valley is going to feel it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other general public comment speakers?
Seeing none. All right. Well, this brings us to the consent calendar, I believe. Did I miss something? Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I would like to, if I may, pull For a quick question, item J, regarding a resolution.
Yes. Okay.
Shall I go ahead? Okay. So I just have a question for
Yeah,
staff.
well, here, let's, for item J, we'll take that up in a minute.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
Make a motion.
So I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. And so now, this brings us to 5J. Go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry, John.
thanks, John. So I just had a question. So I'm a little confused about, and Jim, you could probably answer this, or staff from finance, but I'm confused about this resolution and the scope and budget of the work that's to be contemplated once the grant is received, and how this either fits or is different than the resolution of the $1 million that we were going to get from the Bureau of Reclamation that we were going to reallocate to the Salton Sea Authority. So is this the same $1 million? Is this a different? How are they different?
Yeah, I believe this is exactly the same $1 million. It's the work plan. We worked collaboratively with our environmental services group, worked collaboratively with BOR to settle on a scope of work. We have identified a skill set, senior biologist that would fill that role. But again, it's to work in conjunction with the state's Salton Sea Management Plan, which is what was specifically named in the commitment memorandum that I signed a few years
So
back.
this is the same $1 million
Yes, sir.
that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
This is not new money.
No.
Okay, that was my only question. Thanks.
I have a follow up on that. When you were working on the scope of work and trying to figure out what box we were trying to fill that might not be filled right now, what conversations did you have with either the state or anybody to lead you down the path of thinking that what we need is a biologist and maybe not something else? So I'm just, if I could get a little bit of background on the thought process that made us land here.
Yes, so we work in conjunction with the Reclamation, the Bureau of Reclamation, to come up with a scope of work that support the Salton Sea feasibility study and mitigation projects that's also on our land, as well as collaborative efforts with the Salton Sea Authority and state agencies.
So you work with the Bureau, with the Army Corps, with Salton
Yes.
Sea Authority, with the state of California, or
Department of Water Resources, yes.
okay, and everybody said the best thing for us to do was get a biologist.
We feel like this role is important to help support with our restoration mitigation projects around the Salton Sea, in the vicinity of the Salton Sea.
Okay, I mean, if you're saying that this is what everybody said was missing, then I think that's good. But you know, I would hope that we did that. So, okay, thank you.
I would move approval of the item.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Pass 5-0. Thanks, John.
Thanks, David.
All right, so with 8A, and I know we have, I'm sure we have, I hate assuming, but I'm sure we have a lot of public comment on 8A, but I thought it would be probably prudent for us to have an opportunity prior to the public comment for the board to make some of its own comment. Is there anybody from the board wishing to comment on this 8A ID8 divestiture?
John, I have comments, but if it's okay with the rest of the board, I would prefer to wait and hear the public comments.
Okay, that's fine with me.
I would rather we make comments first. Well, I'm prepared to make a motion unless someone else is prepared to make a motion.
Well, let me go. I'm not sure exactly where we are on this, but we've had a tremendous amount of input from the community Sky Valley and surrounding areas up there. And I believe you guys have made a real impact on our thinking. So your effort was good. That screen's in my way. I can't see everybody. But I hope the motion, if there's a motion, is something that would essentially do the things that the community is asking us to do. That's all I'm saying.
And if I may, if a motion is made and seconded before taking a vote, I would still invite public comment, because even if it's something
Right.
you think
We-
is
we will
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
in favor of
We
the
will-
public, they may still want to
For
make
sure.
comment.
For
So-
sure. Okay.
Well, I will.
So I just want to say thank you, because I've been against this thing since the beginning, since our first meeting in September, and I've been trying to convince everybody that this is not the direction that we should be going. And I want to say that I think you guys have pushed it over the top for us. So thanks for coming to a lot of meetings and a lot of public comment. And so now we're at this point to where we're going to stop this. I think that there's all board members. I don't want to talk for everybody, but I think is on the same page now. And I think development in that area is questionable. So I mean, I've been saying that since the beginning. So we'll tackle that too. So thanks for coming.
So I would just say, I would add, I mean, you've heard this before, and I'll just reiterate this again. This originated with really good intentions, based on particularly my perception that the kind of conversations we were having with the city of Desert Hot Springs, at that time, Mission Springs was not involved in the discussions, but what we could do to help develop that corridor at I-10 and Palm, recognizing that was a different concern than you all had. So this then transitioned into this larger discussion around the potential consolidation, with which I, and I think most of the board, if not all the board, had questions about from its inception. But we wanted to go through the community process. I know you had lots of questions. And we went to at least one meeting, heard your comments, and it sank, particularly when I went to the Sky Valley meeting. The emotion with which folks were talking about and the anxiety level that folks were having about the impact of what this consolidation could mean left me with a distinct feeling that we were headed in the wrong direction. So, having said that, if it's acceptable to the rest of the board, I would like to make a motion to rescind the letter of intent moving forward with the divestiture.
I'll second.
I wanted to add to that motion. Can I add to that motion, Jeff?
You can add to the motion as long as the maker would like to amend it.
So what I would like to add to that is that we stop any conversations regarding an intent of divestiture until this board takes action on that. So meaning we shouldn't be communicating that to any outside agency if this board hasn't taken direct action on that matter. That's what we would like to do. So
Yeah, I mean, if you rescind the letter of intent, then you've stopped the process. So in order to start the process again, it had to be
well,
something.
I think that it happened without us having taken action on it. So I want to make it clear that we don't do
So
that again.
prior to taking it up again, would
Well,
require
anything
board
that's any sort of intent, letter, communication that we plan to move forward with some type of divestiture, I think requires a vote of this board first.
action. Okay, so that's your proposal to the mover.
Yeah, and I
Right.
accept that amendment.
Thank you.
Oh, so the motion now is really to do two things. Three things. One, to rescind the letter of intent. Two, to stop any more effort in terms of divestiture
Without
of
board
ID8. And three, to have essentially a policy that says we won't proceed with anything like that without formal board action.
Yes,
Is
please.
that
Correct.
Did I say that right?
And is the director who made the second in approval of that as well? Director Bianco, did you make the
The
second?
maker of the second.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. So this would be time for the public to comment on this item if you're so inclined. And do we have cards, or why don't we start with the
We do.
cards?
Or it was just
If I
writing.
could, just to remind the board, we are currently in negotiations for a second consolidation with Myoma Dunes, which this board has been briefed on. Is that stopped by this motion?
We should bring it. We should bring it on the agenda and take action on it. That's my recommendation.
So the action would be what? To get board approval to continue doing what we've briefed the board on doing?
Well, right now I'm talking about ID8.
Right. But you also, the third part of this amendment or this motion is to stop all consolidations.
I'm
without-
talking about ID8.
You're
Yeah,
only
only
talking
I-
about
I-
ID8.
I'm
Okay,
only
so it's
talking
only
about
two
ID8.
parts, not three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm only
Okay.
talking
I
about ID8.
misunderstood
clarifies.
then.
Okay, got it. Just thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, we're in agreement.
One and two, no, no.
So the motion is to rescind the letter of intent, stop the process on this particular item for ID8, and to bring back to the board any future action to restart that process.
Got it.
Specific to ID8.
Specific to ID.
All right. And
Got
the
it. Thank
maker
you.
and the maker and the seconder
Maker
are in
and
agreement
second
with
are in
that?
agreement?
Yes.
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 Okay, good.
Okay.
Now that we're clear.
Okay.
I was not exactly clear before, so thank you for the
Thank you for that.
clarification. Speaker cards, please.
Yes. First up, we have Buddy Knowles. Oh. That's what happens. You get here early, sir.
Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for coming.
My name's Buddy Knowles. I live in Sky Valley, and I retired from Veolia Water. I took care of the lift stations in Palm Springs for 20 years and cleaned the sewers, ran the CCTV truck. So I have a lot of experience with the systems. And first of all, I want to commend you for the cleanliness of all your facilities. It just shows me that you have a high standard of work ethics, and you transmit that out into the communities with your work ethics. And but what I want to discuss, and that's why one of the reasons why we want to keep you in Sky Valley, is good work ethics. But a couple times on Dillon, there's a lift station there from Mission Springs. One Saturday, I come home and there's like a river running across the road. Well, I know as a fact that if the lift station goes down, there's going to be somebody on call to get, you're going to have time to fix it before it runs out, blows the manholes and runs out into the desert. So it just shows they don't have good work ethics. That should never have happened. And I stood there for 3 hours with 911 calling them 6 times because people were driving through, couldn't see the open manholes. And I didn't want anybody to fall in it and get injured, So finally they figured it out, and somebody came, and, Mission Springs should have already been there within 30 minutes, an hour at least. But it just shows me they don't take pride in what they're doing, and I don't see how they could deliver me safe drinking water with those kind of work ethics, and it's happened twice. I could see maybe it actually happened once, but twice, no, it shouldn't happen, because I never had any lift stations go down in the 20 years I was there. I'd be out there at 2:30 in the morning with full raining, figuring out what's going on when it gave me and called me and said something's wrong, so. But this is one of the reasons I could see maybe with what they want to do, if you just give them the waterway on Palm Drive and keep Sky Valley, and I could understand something like that, and then they could develop what they need to do. But I just hope you stay in Sky Valley.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sam. Is it Toasty? Toasty. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I was afraid I would be the second one up here. I'm a little torn because I'm not sure if I should make my comments. I fully support the board and what you've just discussed, but I'm concerned that we have others who are in great support of this idea. So I'm going to be as brief as possible and just hit some of the highlights about what was being proposed. I really don't want to keep us here all day. The project morphed from 25 million to 50 million, and we didn't even understand how or why. We can't get a copy of the application. Even though that's a public document, we have asked. We were told, make a FOIA request and it'll come through that way, which someone did, but we still haven't received that document. So we don't really know what was being proposed. We're told it's a grant, but in fact it's a loan. And it's a loan that may or may not be relieved or discounted later down the line. We just don't know what we're on the line for. This board tabled the item, as you well know, and yet MSWD applied on behalf of CVWD clients, which I found quite strange. Sewer service now appears to be a major component. This is not a benefit that anyone in ID8, any of the residents of ID8 are looking for. It was commercial development that would benefit from that. When Mr. Barrett came to our meeting in Sky Valley, we were presented with additional ID8 considerations, which talked about 1,495 accounts which would share in this expense. Our concern is 4,800 people live in the ID8 district. How is that expense being spread all across the board? And I think a fairer methodology needs to be incorporated, not just whether we have a meter or not, but how about how much water each individual is using. And not only that, those who were prepared to benefit, the commercial development, the 3,000 homes at Desert Dunes, they need to share in some of this cost as well, is my opinion. The ID8 district is different from the ID8 distribution system, and that's an important distinction, something that needs to be clarified. This wasn't a unanimous decision. Even at MSWD, it was 3-2. And then I was going to say, I encourage you to table the item, which appears to be where we're heading. The MSR, the Municipal Service Review in front of LAFCO, is critically important and shouldn't be abbreviated like Mr. Barrett had outlined. So in the future, a full review is being asked for. And finally, this just appeared to be a pigs at the trough kind of project where MSWD realized it was free money and there was no incentive to be more frugal or prudent in the methodology. The only folks who were saying, wait a minute, slow down, were those of us who live out in that area. Thank you for hearing my concerns, which I hope are all moot. And I didn't want to use up my 3 minutes to say, Member Estrada and Mr. Aguilar, we certainly appreciate you coming to our meeting in Sky Valley, and I thank you both. I didn't have the chance to say that the other night.
You're welcome. All right, thank you. Next.
Okay, next we have Doria Wilms with City of Desert Hot Springs.
Good morning, President Powell, directors, and staff. My name is Doria Wilms. I'm the city manager for the City of Desert Hot Springs. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the proposed divestiture. I want to reiterate comments I made during public comment at your September 23rd, 2025 meeting to ensure that there is no misunderstanding regarding the City of Desert Hot Springs' position and longstanding request related to utility services within the city's primary growth corridor. Since 2021, the city's request has remained clear and consistent. We have asked Coachella Valley Water District to work collaboratively with Mission Springs Water District on a shared service agreement that would allow Mission Springs Water District to provide sewer while CVWD continues providing water services within the corridor. This is not a new or unprecedented concept. CVWD already has an existing shared service agreement with DWA that demonstrates that these types of cooperative agreements can and do work successfully. Rather than advancing a shared service agreement, CVWD proposed the complete divestiture of the ID8 area to Mission Springs Water District as a solution intended to support the city's economic development objectives in the corridor. It is important that the record clearly reflect the city did not request divestiture of the ID8 area. That proposal originated from CVWD, not the City of Desert Hot Springs. Our request has always been focused on collaboration and coordinated service delivery, not wholesale transfer of territory. I respectfully ask that the board carefully distinguish between the city's longstanding request for a shared service agreement and CVWD's independently proposed divestiture option as you deliberate the matter. The city still respectfully requests collaboration on a shared service agreement for our main growth corridor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tabitha Davies, please.
I'm going to go a little off script here. I want to say thank you for listening. I'm also going to add in, I run a farm. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I feed animals. I water animals. I have 4 children. One of them is a college student. One of them is disabled. One of them has a complex medical condition. I feed my community. Sometimes at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, I'm picking up 2,000 pounds of recovered food. I'm inspecting it, I'm packaging it, and I'm getting it out to my community. I'm hauling it around the next day. We don't have refrigerated storage. I have, over the last several months, spent numerous nights not playing Uno with my kids, instead sitting in front of public records requests provided to me after I've made them until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, drinking Alani's like it's my life's blood. I have spent too much time having to go to the law library in Palm Springs and look up and research and understand what I'm reading and what is happening. And that is somebody who knows how to go and find these avenues, knowing that most of my community did not and does not. And most of my community is bilingual or Spanish speaking. And they're working 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure that they're able to, pay their bills. What we went through in this wasn't really okay. And I think that it should be an internal policy check for you guys on how anything that changes and impacts ratepayers needs to be communicated with the ratepayers. Because there's what the law affords you as a human being and what you get for communicating changes that impact your utilities, impact your taxes, anything. But then there's what's right. And I think that maybe an internal policy review on how you provide information. I mean, we get tons of pamphlets. I read them on water-wise gardening activities that you guys have going on. You put them on your social media as well. But maybe having a separate door tag when somebody's coming by to read the bill. The truck drives by, maybe they can hang them up on the areas where somebody's going to have a change that impacts them. Going through what I have was 5 years worth of development that seemed to influence this divestiture and not the chromium-6 remediation. It seemed like that was the afterthought after September. I do understand the economic growth of DHS, and I don't know all that goes into that, but I do care deeply about the people in the city of DHS. But I also understand that I'm glad you stopped it, because this was absolutely the wrong choice. And I hope that moving forward, there is more introspection along the CVWD board members and the staff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have, is it Carolyn? McDonald?
Carla.
There you go.
I'm gonna have to. I think I can talk loud enough for you all to hear me.
That's broken.
What?
You can also go to that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe better over there.
Good morning. My name is Carlin McDonnell, and I live in Sky Valley. And I am here to reiterate the same point that I've made before in front of this board and as well at the Mission Springs board meeting. The lack of transparency and communication from this agency towards the ratepayers in ID 8 is absolutely and has been atrocious. We have asked for communication. There is no reason why you couldn't have postcarded to every single person, a ratepayer, telling them what was happening. It seemed so, just really small potato communication. And I'm glad that you're considering a different option here, because I feel that it's easy to say that there are not a lot of people that are interested or concerned when nobody really knows except maybe 10% of the people. And I would like in the future for you all to consider your communication with the ratepayers before you move forward again on anything, because we deserve to know about what your plans are for our area just as much as we deserve to know about how clean the water is. So I hope that you will, move forward in a completely different direction, and I applaud that possibility. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mark Astorga, and I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Hello, my name is Mark Storga, a resident of Sky Valley and also a member of the Sky Valley Council. Want to thank you for your decision today.
Sir,
so far.
I apologize. Could I get you to move them up? There
Yes.
you go. Thank you so much.
In regards to the ID8 divestiture, we have a question regarding the handout you gave that was given out by Jim Barrett at the Sky Valley Council meeting. It states there is roughly 1,500 customers that need to bear the cost of the remediation at about $80 to $90 per customer per month. Where did you come up with this number when there's roughly 4,500 plus customers in the ID8 distribution system? Shouldn't this cost be bared by all 4,500 customers, which would bring that $80 to $90 amount to about $20 to $30 per month, which we would all be glad to pay for safe, clean drinking water. That is basically my question is, how come we were told roughly that the Sky Valley residents and the Indio Hills residents had to pay for this remediation when there's a lot more customers, not counting the 7,000 plus mobile homes that are in the area? If you would take that into consideration when you have to pay for the remediation, if it comes down to that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Julie Casterly.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. This is being called the ID8 District Divestiture, i.e. Desert Edge, Sky Valley, and Indio Hills. But according to your 9/23 presentation at this, well, actually it was down in Coachella, this same ID8 system serves down Palm to the I-10 corridor, the area that Desert Hot Springs wants to develop. A little research seems to show the ID8 system serves everything north of the I-10 within the CWD boundaries, including Beep RH, Garnett, Desert Dunes, and more. It continues all the way to Indian Avenue. It was stated that this divestiture was precipitated by the completion of the new wastewater treatment facility in Desert Hot Springs, and then it would benefit Desert Hot Springs and Mission Springs with additional revenue. No word of the I-10 corridor or Desert Hot Springs development has been made in any presentation since. It was also stated that this divestiture was only beneficial to CVWD if both ID8 and the I-10 corridor are linked through this reorganization. According to your website, the same 4 wells serve Dillon Road east and west, Little Morongo north and south, Palm Drive north and south, and Indian north and south. The map seems to show that only one of these wells serve the Dillon Road corridor, so why would the cost for remediation of all 4 fall on our communities? Again, 1,500 to 1,800 accounts, it was said, would be responsible for the $25 million cost to remediate these wells, and not the entire ID8 system. It's estimated there are 4,600 connections and well over 6,000 households. If these numbers are accurate, the estimated added cost to our monthly water bill of $85 would be closer to $25. Using Mr. Barrett's worksheet that shows the average current water bill is $66, that bill would be around $90 with CVWD, including the cost of remediation, versus Mission Springs at $120 after they receive $50 million. Since you have described the ID8 as a separate independent water system that exceeds Chrome 6, is there no grant available to CVWD? Now let me speak as an individual for a moment instead of a council member. I got to retire 1.5 years ago. I live frugally, use my swamp coolers most of the years. For vacation, I take my camper to local spots. I've lived within the water budget set for me by CVWD for 40 years at an efficient level. Now all of a sudden, I'm supposed to have the same budget and usage as a mobile home unit or a city-sized lot on my 6 acres. Just last month, my bill would have gone from $122 to $289, and that's using the rates and the added fees. That difference is close to the cost of my monthly basic Medicare premium. Costs are up now: gas, food, pet supplies, homeowners insurance, everything. We would ask that you please consider your customers. We've been yours for almost 60 years, and we deserve that. Surely there has to be a better solution than what was being proposed, and I'm afraid it looks like that's going to come back around again. So I hope that it will be a more realistic share of cost between the entire ID8 system and not just put on the Dillon Road corridor, because we're only served by one well, not all four. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening and being supporters and taking the time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
0 seconds. Okay.
Next up, we have Regina Vanway.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Regina Van Wy, and I'm here again to voice my opposition to the proposal of the transfer of my water service from CVWD to Mission Springs Water District. I have lived in this valley for over 41 years and in Sky Valley, and have always lived in the CVWD jurisdiction. I have never had any problems with my water service and have only experienced one shut-off, which they were working on the end of my block, so they had to turn my water off. Here are the facts of why, and I appreciate you listening to us, of why I do not want my service to be transferred to Mission Springs. 1, Mission Springs was charged with improper meter readings, billing, and failed meter readings from March 2019 to May 2022. Also in 2022, Mission Springs was charged with wastewater discharge violations for the State Water Control Board. That may have been what Buddy was talking about. The resolution was that they gave a partial settlement back to DHS as a supplemental environmental project that they worked on. The voters of Mission Springs area voted against raising their rates, water rates, in which Mission Springs stated that this was unconstitutional, and they sued and took this lawsuit all the way to the state Supreme Court, but lost. In 2024, a discrimination and harassment suit was settled against Mission Springs by an employee for $90,000. Mission Springs also had to retrain all of their staff members after this settlement. Now, I understand that there has been a few lawsuits against CVWD. However, I have not heard or seen anything remotely like what I have just stated about Mission Springs. So I have seen CWD willingly working with the community and settling disputes with the communities and being collaborative also. I do not want my service changed from CVWD to a water district that is full of mismanagement, improper and dishonest work ethics, and full of improprieties. I am retired and cannot afford the higher rates with the less qualified coverage of water service. So thank you for listening. Appreciate it. But I just wanted to remind you, please do not switch our water service, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Nance, please.
Hello.
Morning.
Respectfully, I am here to represent Desert Edge. I am a former professor of geography and GIS on the Desert Edge Council and a homeowner for 25 years. I oppose the ID8 system, district distribution, divestiture, and consolidation, as it's got several different nomenclatures. which it would be convenient if you provided a map that showed the overlay of these different polygons so that we know exactly what we're talking about as to whether it's Desert Hot Springs or MSWD's district or CVWD's district. The only map I found is kind of cut everything off to the west, which is where the wells are. I'd also like to add on to what Tabitha said. I'm opposed to any kind of warehouse development that would absorb our water. The water is a commodity that we relish and conserve because of its cost, whether it's through billing or pumping out of the ground. I have a well. So for all the reasons set forth in my comments that I submitted by email, I'd like to emphasize, as others have, that all of the ratepayers in both districts, MSWD or CVWD, should be notified and provided a visual spatial representation so they can understand how this might impact them and then choose to participate or not. The Desert Edge has Mission Springs Water District north and south of Dillon, which makes things very complicated to think about this stuff in your head as a map. And I'm getting very tired of spending 25 minutes describing it. It's north, it's south, it's east, it's west. Corkle, no, yes, okay. The representation of how many people live in our area has been grossly underestimated. It's a low-income area. The demographics are people that often are seasonal or visitors. There are also property owners besides the park residents. The idea that tax would be added to our property rolls without us participating, I think supports the request that there be workshops or town halls before any further future action is considered on these matters. And recognize that there are 25 RV parks, and those are $1 to $5 million parks in the Desert Edge area that definitely need sewer or some sort of water oversight as to how they're using the water and where the wastewater is going. But as for your general residential property owner, I think it's unfair to tax them with prices for sewer that they don't necessarily need, just the commercial property, as Sam had said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next, just clarification. I had a note for Pamela Ballin, but someone said they were going to speak on her behalf. I think we cleared that up. Is that correct? Or is Pamela in the room? You're Pamela? Yes. Ballin? Okay. You're not going to speak. Okay. I'll take that off. Okay. And then next up we have Sunshine Herrera.
Morning, President Powell, Vice President Estrada, the rest of the board, and our wonderful staff of CVDWD. My name is Sunshine Herrera. I'm a resident of Cathedral City. I appreciate the board bringing this discussion forward publicly because the future of ID8 is a significant long-term infrastructure and governance issue for these communities and the valley as a whole. Today, I am respectfully asked the board not to move too quickly towards a single solution without fully evaluating all available options for the future of the ID8 system. These options could include continued CVWD ownership, full consolidation, regional partnerships, system modernizations, future system connections, grant-funded infrastructure improvements, and other long-term alternatives. Residents of Desert Edge, Sky Valley, and Indian Hills should have the opportunity to clearly understand the advantages, disadvantages, and long-term impacts of each option. This includes projected costs, future rate impacts, governance changes, maintenance obligations, Chromium-6 responsibilities, and long-term operational sustainability. Most importantly, residents need direct answers to practical questions. Will water bills increase? Will sewer costs increase? Who will ultimately be responsible for the future infrastructure upgrades? And what protections remain for ratepayers if authority is transferred? I also believe these decisions should be supported by factual hard numbers, not broad assumptions or general projections. That means publicly reviewing projected infrastructure costs, future operational costs, potential grant funding, future revenue impacts, and side-by-side financial comparisons for each option under consideration. I would also ask the board to clearly explain the legal and procedural protections available to ratepayers moving forward, including future notice requirements, protest rights, and accountability for transfer of authority. Quite honestly, I believe this topic warrants a dedicated public study session before final direction is given. I would also respectfully ask that the reports, presentations, financial comparisons be made publicly available beforehand so residents can review the information and participate in a more informed discussion. This area north of Interstate 10 also represents future economic and regional growth potential that could affect surrounding cities, tribal communities, infrastructure planning and housing, future regional revenue opportunities. I'm kind of biased, but I believe we have the best water district, and you have a chance to get this right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is the last speaker card that I have. Oh, we have one more.
Not too late.
Not
Come
too
on.
late. Yeah. Here, I'll take it. Yes. Lisa Toasty.
Lisa Toasty.
Hi.
Thank you.
Good morning.
I have to thank you so very, very much for the motion that's on the floor. I cannot tell you how surprised I am and pleased. But I also invite you to continue to work with us. I know there is a June deadline where there's, at the state level, the Chromium-6 is being re-reviewed. And if the Chromium-6 still needs to be mitigated, we invite you please to work with us, provide us information, let us help understand how that mitigation will happen, how those costs will be divided. We really do want to pay and understand we are responsible to pay for those costs. We are clear on that. And we really do look forward to a wonderful future of continuing to be with Coachella Valley Water District. I really cannot thank you enough. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Anybody else? Do we have anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none? Great. All right, so there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion before we vote?
I just want to say thank you to the community for taking an interest on this and for all the time that you spent trying to understand what was being proposed. And duly noted all the comments that you've made about communication in the future. I was happy to be in attendance in some of your meetings. Hopefully I can visit more frequently. But just in general, I want to say thank you and looking forward to working together. Thank you.
Come on up. Come on up so we can hear you at the microphone, please.
My point of order is, could you read the motion in its entirety as you were going to vote on it?
Right, yeah, so we did change it. That's a good point.
Sure.
Do we have that
Yes.
handy, Jeff? Yeah.
So the motion on the floor is to rescind the current letter of intent, number one. Number two, to stop any further consolidation efforts in regard to ID8. Number three, any resumption of such efforts would need to come back to the board first. This is in regard to ID8 only,
To come back to the board before any action is taken.
any resumption.
Right. I believe that's correct and
It is.
consistent with the maker and the seconder intent. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Passed 5-0. Good. Well, thank you, everybody. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's only 9 o'clock. It's pretty interesting. Are you getting ready to pay for something?
No, I'm just.
You gonna buy my lunch?
Yeah, sure. It's in the break room.
Surprised it popped up. There's no readers here.
Weird, right?
We're on 7A.
Okay. These are going to get into our public hearings now. So 7A, I'm going to go straight to the script.
Morning, Carla.
At this time, staff will provide a presentation on the adoption of canal service rates and charges for fiscal year 2027 and approval of ordinance 1437.7. Following the presentation, we will open the public hearing. Making the presentation this morning is Carla Romero, Director of Finance. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Powell. Ms. Bermudez, can we make sure that Alan and Michael are online? Michael is on his cell phone. It's the last numbers are 8506. Just want to make sure they're unmuted and available. Thank you. So we do have legal representation online with Michael Colantano on the call. He's with Colantano, Highsmith, and Watley, and he has been helping us with all of these rate studies. And then also Alan Highsmith with NBS, and they both will be assisting as needed for both public hearings today regarding the rates for canal and the replenishment assessment charges. So I will start off with this one. If you recall, in September, the summer of 2026, on July 2025, July 24th, 2025, we held a public hearing for the canal rates to adopt the new cost of service study and the 5-year proposed maximum rate limits. So this would be the second year of implementation. The first year was effective August 1st of 2025, and these rates, if adopted today, would be effective July 1st of 2026. The proposed rates do mirror those adopted by the cost of service study. The cost of service study for this particular rate was adopted on May 13th, 2025, which is the process that you will be doing during the next public hearing for the replenishment rates. And we did have 2 budget study sessions for fiscal year 26-27, which again starts July 1st, 2026. We had those public budget study sessions on February 17th and also on March 17th. And this public hearing, we did notice it 47 days in advance on April the 10th. There is a 45-day published process that needs to be done whenever you have these public hearings for rates. And then we're also following the Assembly Bill 2257 process to avoid future litigation or mitigate future litigation whenever possible. This is directly from the presentation that we did provide last summer. Did want to clarify a couple of things on here. The current rate, that was the rate for fiscal year 24-25 prior to the new rate study being adopted. And then the fiscal year 25-26, those are our current rates right now. And then those highlighted in red are the proposed rates that follow the cost of service study, which we would recommend that the board adopt at today's meeting. If you take a longer term view, one of the things that we try to do with these rate studies is to smooth out the rate increases. So without a rate increase, kind of getting to the bottom line, like what happens if we don't have a rate increase, right? Future rate increases would be more, because they have to cover debt service that continues to increase within this fund over time. So you notice there in fiscal year 29-30, the proposed rate goes up significantly or more to $49.82 for class 1 and class 2 to $114.82. And that's a big driver of that debt service that continues to increase over time. Right now, that current debt service is $700,000. But in fiscal year 29-30, that will increase to $3.6 million. And that's for the USBR loans and also the IID extraordinary loans that we have. And so in order to smooth out those rates, staff's recommendation is to have incremental yearly rate increases rather than large fluctuations in rates. There are changes. We highlighted this during the public hearing process when we adopted the rates. We did have some changes to the rate structure itself to align with the legal requirements as proposed or as directed by the court. And so the water supply assessment charge was eliminated and incorporated into the total rates. So was the Quagga mussel rate. And then the costs were allocated uniformly across all customer classes, not class 1 and class 2 separately as they were before. And then discretionary revenue continues to offset all rates. And so nobody is paying the full cost of service study because we have property tax revenues that are allocated to these canal rates. And then we also have interest that is earned on the reserve funds within this, and they're also used to offset rates. So it continues to be the case that no customer class within any of our rates pay the fully burdened rate because of those two major offsets of revenue. I was not intending to go over the budget presentation. These numbers are directly from the budget study session we did in March. However, if the board would like to go over these, we can certainly have David Lacey do so at this time.
Maybe Director Sanchez, I mean, we've seen it multiple times, but.
Yeah. So, you know, Carla, you've worked really hard, but this all of this that you put together is wonderful. We've gone through many study sessions on all this. I get it. You know, I've been saying from the beginning that, you know, I understand that you want to just take the rates up every year, little by little by little. I have been kind of a proposal to just kind of take the chance on having those big increases later down the line. And I think for the canal, I think this fits the bill when, you know, basically we're talking about, if we don't do an increase, we're talking about a $1 million decrease in reserves, which we have hefty reserves. We have really, really hefty reserves when our reserve target is 44 and we've got 112. So I just don't think that rate increases, although it's very minor, are needed for this year. I know that in the future we will need rate increases. I just don't think we need to this year. So that's the way I'm going to vote.
Director Bianca,
Yeah.
just a reminder that the reserves for canal include the money we receive from reclamation for the curtailment of levee, and there are large legal fees that we have to pay because of our other rates. Those funds from reclamation are not necessarily designated for canal. The board has discretionary use on where they use those. We have also used those for rate mitigation in other funds. So it is a little misleading to think that all that money in the canal fund is for canal.
Yeah, so I see the curtailment set aside, right?
The 58 million, yes.
Yeah, but we're still right in that. We're still right in the target zone. So, you know, we're right there. So if you take the 58 from 112, how much do we have? Right? If we take away 58 and our
54.
So we're still right there. So that's and I'm not saying that we're not going to have rate increases. I'm just saying that I don't think we need a rate increase this year. That I like to see how things flush out before we truly need one. So, and I've done that on the same kind of way with domestic or any other fund. So I think since I've been here over 10 years, I've voted for an increase in canal more than any other fund. So this time I just think we don't need one.
What's the target
That's
reserve?
a fact.
What's the target on the?
The target reserve is
changes every year.
44.3 million. It
44?
continues to increase. It's right here on the screen. It's on the chart on the right. It's
Oh, I see it.
the first set of numbers there. Right. The
I see it.
third number. Yeah. It does fluctuate over time because it's tied to the expenditures, the O&M expenditures.
But
A couple other
if
fluctuations.
we take the 112 minus the curtailment of 58, you still have 54. So our target reserve is 44. So I mean, I get it. We want to be very conservative. I just
That's a good point.
We still have at least the State Water Project property tax lawsuit, which has not come out of the Superior Court yet. So we don't know what the liability is there. We don't know what the liability is on the 4 lawsuits we have on domestic rates.
I know, but
So those will have
but
impacts.
listen, we also have Chromium 6. We also have so many things going on, and I like to be able to explain full facts to ratepayers on exactly why we're doing this. I don't want to say we may have this coming down the line. We may have this. We don't know. When it happens, I'm going to tell them, hey, we've got this to pay, and that's why it's going up. It's real easy to explain. Right now, it's the maybes and this and that. It's difficult for me.
Well, I think Carla's preceding slide, which showed the increase in, maybe it wasn't a preceding slide that showed the increase in operations costs. I guess I have to go back to, slide 5.
There, yeah.
Where it shows that salaries and benefits have gone up 10.5%. Supplies and services have gone up 13%. And we're not asking for a 10.5% or a 13% increase in the canal rate. But there are increases on the operations and maintenance side that have to be somehow accommodated.
So what you're trying to tell me is go back to the other slide, that you're not factoring that in when you tell me what we're going to end up with no increase. They've already factored all these things in.
Yeah, it's already in there.
It's already factored in there. So I understand things are going up, but we still have an over above reserve target. I mean,
Are we at risk? I don't think on Canal Fund we are. Are we at risk of any loan covenant violations if we don't raise rates?
Not for this particular fund. There's no debt coverage ratio with the loans, but we do have our own master resolution, so we do follow a 1.25 debt coverage ratio from our own master resolution.
But that doesn't.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Yeah.
Carla, if we don't move these rates now, what will this mean for next year?
While we do, as you all know, go through the budget process to determine what that rate recommendation would be next year, it could be that we give you the same rate recommendation. However, with this new Assembly Bill 2257 process, we would likely publish a full rate to the maximum Prop 218 notice rate, so then the board can have opportunity to either do a fully burdened cost of service study justified rate or a lower proposed rate at the public hearing. Okay. If we publish, let's say, a 3% only, but we could go up 6%, then we're limited to that 3%. And we did make that mistake already once with our domestic rates, and we would not want to do that again in the future.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
I'm fine with publishing the full the full increase on the Proposition 218. I just don't think we need to do it this year, and we've
been through this a lot, and the reality is, we understand our cost of service, but the impact of not raising rates leaves us with ample reserves, and so I think what Director Bianco's saying is when we do have the need, we can project things, we don't know if they'll actually happen. When they do actually happen, then we raise the rates.
Right. I mean, we don't know the rate of construction. We know the loan is there and that we could go up to a maximum of $60 million. How quickly we get there is up to how quickly we draw down on those funds. And so that debt coverage increases year over year depending on how much we draw down and how much construction we complete. So we will get there. And there is a time frame to get there as well. And so we would have to do extensions if we that kind of went over that time frame to draw down on those funds. But
is that the bureau loan to do those 12 projects?
The canal lateral projects, yes.
Yeah. Are we 50% done with that, or? Did we do like $30 million worth of it already, or?
The current debt within canal is $27.1 million, and it's scheduled to go up to $67 million in 2030. So we're maybe almost halfway done.
But all of that is also already plugged into your projections over the next years?
The rates, yes. Mm-hmm.
So to Director Bianco's point, it's all baked in?
Yes. Yeah. We put all those numbers in there with the future projections. Mm-hmm.
All right, and there is an 11% increase out there. So if there's no increase this time, we can draw off reserves if we need to. But we'll still need potentially a greater increase then.
Right. Right.
Instead of 3 point or whatever it is this time, it could be more than 14% next time. If you can't if you're not comfortable with a low rate increase now,
I know.
But that's we've
had the
through
same
this so many
conversation every
times.
year.
This is why we got elected here. I mean, this is to make these decisions. So, you know.
That's the board's decision. I mean, we do have other administrative and procedural edits within the ordinance that even if the rates are not adopted.
No, yeah, well, it's possible. Yeah, let's
would
finish.
need to adapt those
Let's
red
finish.
line
We'll
edits.
adopt the ordinance, but possibly with different rates than what's shown in the exhibit. All right. Why don't we finish the presentation?
I was done unless you wanted us to go over the budget process, the budget items within this presentation.
Carla, just got a question. So
Yes.
on the 5th year, I see an increase and it goes from 3 to 4 every year until the 5th year, and that's because there's a loan that has to be paid, or
Yes.
increase of.
Mm-hmm. It's the debt service associated with those loans we've been discussing. So
Okay.
that's where that debt increases to the 67 million, and so that debt repayment right now is 700,000, and it'll increase to 3.6 million. And so we would need either additional property tax revenue, additional drawdown on reserves, additional rates. We would need some sort of additional revenue to repay those loans, that additional debt over time.
Thank you.
The challenge is trying to predict what happens 2 or 3 years from now. And I think we've learned over our decades of service here that sometimes those worst case scenarios, which a lot of times that's what's baked in there, they just don't ever happen. And even though there might be a debt payment, there might be other ways of paying it too. So
I think what it also
Yep.
maybe doesn't fully recognize is the fact that staff during the budget year is very concerned about spending more than the board has authorized. So we wind up cutting back on levels of service that would otherwise be provided. So, I mean, this rate that we're asking for kind of maintains the current level of service that has been provided. When the board doesn't approve this rate, it forces staff then to go back to remain within the budget that's set and reduce expenses that they otherwise plan to cover. So I think there's a couple different parts to this that, the board may want to consider.
I don't understand why you say that, because salaries and benefits are going up 10.5%. Supplies and services are a 13% increase. We got contract services of 620,000. It seems like we're maintaining or exceeding the same service that we've been doing with everybody. I mean, it's not like we're saying we're cutting back if we don't do that.
But those are in the rates that's proposed, right? Not within the zero rate that you're
Yeah, but
considering.
no, they're in the expenses for all the rates. It's in there for all of them.
Yeah, I guess to clarify, what I'm hearing is even if we don't have a rate increase, you would not like us to go back and review expenses. You would like us to use the $1 million of reserves.
You've already reviewed
that correct?
expenses. in
Yes.
here.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's what we're saying. We're not saying that we want to revise the proposed expenditures.
Right.
Although, when there's less revenue coming in, that's a good time to look at how to become more efficient.
So before us today is this ordinance, and because it's been noticed as a 218 hearing, I would recommend we go through the process, complete that, and then staff can
Yeah.
help you
Right, yeah, we
to
haven't
find out
even-
which parts of the ordinance you want to proceed with.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the hearing yet, so
Yeah.
we're going to get there. Maybe we'll get there now. How about that? Okay. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome.
This is the time and place fixed for a public hearing on the proposed rate increase for canal water for fiscal year 2027, which is being held in accordance with the procedural provisions of Prop 218 and Assembly Bill 2257. Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this public hearing?
Yes, President Powell, notice of the hearing and the proposed rate increase was given by legal publication in the Desert Sun and Imperial Valley Press on April 10th, 2026. As proof of proper notice of this hearing, I have proof of publication from the Desert Sun and the affidavit of posting as well for the Imperial Valley Press.
Thank you. Council, please explain the purpose of today's public hearing.
The requirements of Prop 218 and AB 2257 are being followed. The date and time of this public hearing is not less than 45 days after notice. The purpose of the hearing is to hear oral testimony and consider written protests or objections concerning the proposed ordinance, which would authorize the adjustments to the rates. A customer or property owner is not required to provide oral testimony in order to submit a written protest. A written protest must specify that it is being submitted in protest, include the customer's or property owner's name, parcel number, and or service address, and be signed. If written protests against the proposed rates are presented by a majority of owners of the identified parcels upon which the rates are to be imposed, the board may not impose the adjustment to the rates. If written protests against the proposed rates are not presented by a majority of owners of the identified parcels upon which the rates are to be imposed, the board may impose the adjustments to the rates if it decides to adopt the proposed ordinance. A written objection stating reasons is required for a later legal challenge to rates, and that challenge will be limited to the issues raised in the objection. The board will consider all protests and adopt written findings in response to the substantive objections. As explained in the hearing notice, the publications, and the agenda for this meeting, individuals wishing to address the board were given the opportunity to provide written comments in advance of the meeting via mail. Individuals may provide public comment during this meeting via telephone or on the online meeting platform. Any protest submitted must include an image of the protesters being signed, and protests must be received by the district prior to the close of the hearing.
Thank you. I hereby declare the public hearing open and will request that those wishing to speak please give your name and property location and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will now hear from anyone who wishes to come forward and speak. Do we have anybody prepared requesting? Ms. Herrera, good morning.
Good morning, board. I live at 29752 Calle Tampico. That's in Cathedral City. I appreciate the work that goes into maintaining our canal system and protecting one of the most important resources in our valley, water. We have a great workforce. After reviewing this item, I believe the discussion is much more than just a rate increase. This board is making long-term decisions about how costs are shared and how financially stable the canal fund will remain in the future. The report itself makes clear that no customer group is currently paying the full cost of service because outside revenues and subsidies help offset the costs. I think it's important for the public to understand that. I also think ratepayers deserve continued transparency about where those outside revenues are coming from, how long they may last, and what happens if those revenues decline in the future. At the same time, the district's operating expenses continue to rise through maintenance, infrastructure, obligations, software systems, and operational costs connected to the canal system. I do appreciate the district trying to simplify the rate structure by improving separate charges and folding some fees together. Simplicity can help ratepayers better understand their bills, but simplification should not reduce transparency. The public should still be able to clearly understand where costs are going, how rates are being set, and what the long-term financial plan is for the canal fund. I would also respectfully ask, how long does the district anticipate being able to rely on outside revenues, subsidies to offset the full cost of the service? What are the large projected infrastructure obligations facing the canal over the next 10 to 20 years? And if outside revenues decline in the future, what is the district's long-term plan to stabilize the canal fund without creating hidden rate impacts for customers? These decisions will impact agriculture, groundwater sustainability, and long-term financial planning across the valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else wishing to speak on this during this public hearing? Seeing none. Do we have any written, Clerk Bermudez, do we have any written communications?
No, we did not receive any for this.
Okay. I'm prepared to close the public hearing. However, before I do that, I would like to provide anyone who would like to submit or withdraw a written protest or objection the opportunity to do so once the public hearing is closed, state law prohibits us from accepting any further written protests or objections. Are there any remaining written protests or objections to be delivered to the board clerk? I don't see any. I hereby declare the public hearing closed. We will now have the written protests tabulated. Do we have any written protests?
Mr. President, we did not receive any protest for canal rates.
Right.
I know.
Okay. Do we have any
Or I
further
should clarify, we
discussion?
did not receive any written protests or written objections.
Right.
Just for the record.
Yeah, fair enough. So I know we've already had quite a bit of board discussion. At this time, the board is asked to consider the protests and objections and the written responses to the objections, which there were none, and the adoption of ordinance 1437.7, authorizing increases to rates for canal water service charges, which is really a lot more. The ordinance is a lot of things. It's not just that, right? There were some other edits in there.
There were some minor edits. Can go through really fast. The rate for the Oasis rate notes that it's per acre per month, but that should say
Right.
per acre foot.
Right.
And so we need to make sure we correct that
Right,
because
and
we
that
will
was just
start
a-
to implement
that was
that
just a-
rate.
like a typo
It's a
before,
typo. It does not match
We,
with
we
the
were
cost of
we were
service
actually
study.
billing it by acre
We
foot.
will start billing it by acre.
And I'm sorry, what page is that?
It's on page 54 of the ordinance.
It's in the red line too.
Right. I mean, just for the record,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
we know what we're.
And there's one more. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Where Mr. Colantano asked us to add some clarification.
Carl, I think you're looking at the clean copy, right? Because the Oasis charges are on page 55.
I have a red line copy, but it's
Okay.
54 or 55.
Yeah, 55.
We'll just go from the red line if
the
that's
clean
easier.
Easier to find. Hey, at least the red lines have red lines in them now. That's good.
Yay. Progress.
Progress. Okay. Well, we have all that information, Carla. It's clearly
can't find
presented
it.
in the board packet. They were minor
Yes.
It's
adjustments.
administrative, yes.
Administrative.
References that are.
So the
need to
main
be
changes
corrected.
were in the appendices showing the rates and
Yes.
rates and charges.
Yes.
And so the discussion earlier was that the Canal Fund has ample reserves that if we do not do a change to the rates and charges, the fund will be okay for at least for the current year, for the coming year.
I mean, in fact, for the next 5 years, if I'm reading this correctly, our reserves, if we do not do an increase for the next 5 years, at the end of year 5, we'll still have $7 million over reserve target. So we're 10 with no on the first year. We're 6 the second, 9, 5, and 7. That is with no increases for 5 years.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful in the future to have the quantity of class 1 and class 2 water used so that those types of calculations can be easily done.
And I think the other clarification too is maybe taking out the one-time curtailment set aside from
Correct.
those reserve balances.
Correct.
Because as noted earlier, they could be utilized for other purposes.
Correct.
We will do both for next time.
I know we've had this conversation before, but did we ever consider, I know it came up, but moving those funds to a separate account so that we can avoid this confusion of the reserves being in the canal fund? I thought that we had talked about possibly setting an account for it.
We
Like in the
certainly
general fund?
can. We can set up a separate fund. We do that when we have debt service, where we want to segregate those in order to make it easier for us for accounting purposes as well. They would still be presented within the general manager's report on a monthly basis as one of our fund balances. If you note, there's like restricted, unrestricted funds within that report.
I just don't want to get confused.
But we certainly can do that.
I'm not I'm not.
We would need a
I know
motion
you're
from
not.
the board
I'm
or direction from the
completely taking
board.
it out.
No, I know
it's-
you are.
I'm counting it as a zero.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know you are.
I mean, it's there because of who paid it, I think, and
Who paid it? But
right.
who, what do you mean who paid
Bureau
it?
of Reclamation, right?
Oh, but with,
Well, yes, but it's in there because it is set aside for the rack that Canal would otherwise be getting revenue for.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't really had that discussion of where those funds are going to be applied, right? That's what you're talking about.
We can put them
yeah.
in a general fund.
yeah, I
I
just
mean, we asked
I
to
could
have
move
them shown separately, and they're doing that. But yeah, I get it. Okay.
So just for today, though, we're talking about this particular ordinance. It's going to be a change in how accounts are set up. That would need to be a separate board item.
Sure, that's fine.
Yes, I can bring that
Yeah.
separately.
Yeah, we
We
can-
can bring that with the budget adoption if there's consensus from the board to present the budget when adopted with a separate fund and have these set aside and removed from Canal. We can certainly do
There you
that
go.
on June 23rd.
Okay.
So the board could entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1437.7 with the changes except for the adoption of the canal water and service rate increases,
Rates and charges, right?
rates and charges.
Right. And for clarification with the motion to ask staff to continue to not adjust the expenditures and utilize the reserve balances to cover the what would have been the rate increase. That way we have clear direction for our budget study
yeah.
session.
I mean, I think that efficiency is always important, right?
Yeah, I mean, you might want to check with your special counsel. I just wouldn't want to confuse what we're doing here today
Right.
with something else and then have that be a basis of a challenge. So I would, if we could bring that all back, that'd be, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, well, no, we're really, what we're doing here is considering adoption of the ordinance, and I think the motion that somebody's going to make is to modify the draft ordinance to hold the rates and charges, or fees, what do we call them? Fees and charges, rates? Hold them to the same as the current year.
So we've had a lot of discussion over the class 1 and 2 rates, the top part of the chart. We really haven't had any discussion over the rate schedule for other consumptive and miscellaneous charges. Right?
Right.
I mean, it's on slide 3, please.
Yeah, but that,
I'd like to make a motion to draft the ordinance to keep the rates the same. To modify draft ordinance, but to keep rates the same on everything for this year.
the idea, Jim, to address your concern is the increased cost of service that's driving the numbers on slide 3 would be covered through reserves instead of through a rate increase or charge increase.
So you're talking about holding all of the water rates schedule, the class 1, class 2, and the construction industrial, plus the Oasis surcharge, the scheduled gate orders, the unscheduled gate orders, and the outside ID1 surcharge. All those remain
all
the
of
same.
it. All of it.
That's correct.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at slide 10, I mean that it'd be nice to see that the on slide 10 to see that first. Well, here we go. It's up in the graph. Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just needed to clarify.
I
what
mean,
we were
you know,
talking about.
honestly, it's such a small proposed increase. It doesn't really move the needle very much whether you do it or not. You know, I mean, those bars are pretty close together, especially the first couple of years.
Does
either way.
does the proposed schedule make it into the ordinance at the end, or
The proposed schedule and
Schedule,
the rates,
yes.
the rates are included in the ordinance, yes.
Yeah, they're on page
53,
54 and
54,
54 and 55.
So
They're in
was,
the
was that a
appendix.
motion, Director Bianco?
Yes.
so? Help me understand. So we are changing the rate on the first year.
No,
No,
We're just keeping it the same.
just keep it the same.
flat.
But it's not
We're only
showing the
considering
same.
the first
But it's
year.
not showing the same in the current ordinance.
Right. That's why we're saying we'll adopt the ordinance,
Which
the
is-
draft ordinance, but without the changes in the rates.
Correct, and we've done that, and we've done
the
that.
difference is that.
And we've done that
Yeah,
before.
I can't even tell.
Can't even see it.
And we've done that before.
A little
We've
extra
done
ink
this
would have
exact
looked
same
the same.
scenario where we.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I'm just
Put
trying
it
to
out there,
figure out.
it's different.
So right now, the current ordinance before us
It's not
has
that
the
huge of an
proposed
increase.
schedule.
I don't understand.
It's a redlined ordinance, yes, with the proposed rates. And it also has other administrative changes that we would need adopted in order to implement, like the Oasis surcharge accurately.
Can you show me
Because
the?
it's
Can you
wrong.
show me the? Can you show me the chart?
The
schedule?
ordinance, we would need staff to pull that up. It's
Don't-
the
don't you-
PDF in attachment 1.
You don't have it in here.
No, the red line ordinance is like 55 pages or 50 something pages.
Yeah, staff is going to pull that up.
I'm just trying to understand what we're changing.
All we're doing is we're keeping everything the same, except for, and we're telling the public that over the next 5 years, this is what could potentially happen. But for the first year, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ordinance
That's
is
all-
only
that's
for the
all.
only for the current year, for the next year.
Yeah, I just want to see it.
Attachment
I
one,
don't.
red line.
I'm not.
Ordinance.
Right, the red line, please.
It's honestly, that ordinance is long and all the, what's the term? You don't want to bury the lead. It's all at the end.
I think it's page like 54.
I think all we're
55
talking
where
about is the
changes.
schedule, right? With,
Yeah.
with
it's
rates
in
on it.
Appendix
Keep
A.
going.
1.
No.
It's
no,
on page
keep
like
scrolling.
70 something.
Yeah.
I think it's the appendix. You can scroll down.
I had to go through it.
One
But
of the
it's-
things staff has been,
It's way at
we'll
the
be
bottom.
working on with
Go
Clerk
down
Bermudez
from
is
70.
separating
Go
the rates from
Where
the
are the
full
exhibits?
ordinance.
It's
Right now,
the
we have to bring the
exhibits.
full ordinance
I know.
because the rates are an appendix to the ordinance, but
I
we
know.
don't have any other edits. We did clean this up quite a bit last, over the summer because we did restructure the rates. So we, removed references to like the Quagga mussel and whatnot
right.
during those edits, but these edits do not include that. If we keep going down more, it's the one of the it's in the
Page
appendix.
75.
There you go.
That's one of them.
Yeah, the red line is
That one. So,
So
we're going to reject those changes on that, those red line there.
And then go to the next.
And then the next one.
page.
So this is we're saying at 4014 and all that.
Yeah. And,
So
and
this
same thing.
particular one, right there on the bottom row, the Oasis surcharge, there's a typo within the ordinance. It says per acre per month, and that should read per acre foot.
Right. So we're
So-
going to keep that one change.
Correct.
Where you cross out per month and it says foot. Right?
So
Because that was kind of a typo.
So the motion that would need a second is to adopt the ordinance with the administrative changes, but keep all the rates the same, as I understand.
Well, were we billing that per acre? We were billing it per
We
acre, weren't we?
have, thank you, Scott.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. We're going to start billing it for the first time this year, so nobody has been charged that assessment at this point. But when we did send the letters out, we realized that there was this inconsistency.
Yeah. No, and
between
that-
the agreements.
No,
and
it
the
should be by
ordinance.
because it's a volumetric charge.
Correct.
The one that's per acre is the ID1 surcharge. That's probably how the wording got
Likely, yeah.
put into this other one. Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't been mischarging or misbilling people.
All right. So when we reject the changes on appendices A1 and A2, we're going to keep the foot per acre foot instead of the per month.
And I
on the
think
Oasis Church.
we would consider that a ministerial administrative change. I think is what Carla was mentioning. So the motion
It
would
is.
be to adopt the ordinance with the administrative changes, but keep all the rates the same.
Correct.
But that would need a second.
Right. So who made the motion? Was that Director Bianco?
Yes.
So is that consistent with your motion?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll second that motion. We're doing, is this roll call vote?
Yes.
Yeah. So do we have any other discussion before we vote?
One final
Go
question.
ahead.
So this ordinance only captures 1 year's worth of proposed rate and service charges, and so we have to do it every year.
Every year, yes.
Okay.
If we
understood.
don't do it next year, these will still be the rates.
Correct.
But we do it every year as part of the budget
Okay.
process. Yeah.
Understood.
And we've already got the Prop 218 notice done for a few years, so we We won't have to do that again.
We did do a public hearing notice in the newspaper and on our website, and we did translate it English and Spanish for both rates this year. We would continue to do that because that is the Assembly Bill 2257 requirements. And so in order to continue to avoid future litigation, we would continue to do that. But we would not do a full mailing to all customers, which is a 218 process.
Right.
And just to be clear, that's to help to potentially avoid lawsuits by imposing this
Noticing.
requirement under AB 2257 that says you need to exhaust your administrative remedies by submitting an objection before these is considered.
Correct.
So that's the key.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Roll call vote.
President Powell.
Aye.
Vice President Estrada.
Yes.
Director Bianco.
Aye.
Director Aguilar.
Yes.
And Director Sanchez.
Due to my short term on this board, I'd like to abstain from this.
Okay. Thank you. So
Thank you.
noted.
That's fair. I was wondering if you'd do that. It's not a bad move. All right. So that passed 4-0 with one abstention. Next public hearing, and I still don't have the script for the third public hearing. I know, but I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it next. This one will go. Well, we have a speaker. At this time, staff, this will be the second public hearing now. At this time, staff will provide a presentation on the adoption of adjustments and increases to rates for replenishment assessment charges for fiscal years 2027 to 2031 and approval of ordinance 1400.1 and resolution 2026-08. Following the presentation, we will open the public hearing. Making the presentation is Carla Romero, Director of Finance. Go ahead, Carla.
Thank you again, President Powell. This rate is slightly different than the canal rate, so I wanted to start off by just identifying some of the differences. The cost of service study identifies the maximum potential replenishment assessment rates for the next 5 years from fiscal year 26-27 to 2030-31. So it's a maximum rate, but as you know, the board on an annual basis reviews the budget and adopts those rates, and we would continue to do those process for these rates as well. The RAC rates, replenishment assessment rates, require both an ordinance and a resolution to be adopted. The ordinance aligns with sections 31630 through 31639 of the California Water Code. They are just essentially adopting the water code language within our ordinance. And then the resolution is what actually sets the rates for these replenishment assessment charges. So the ordinance adopts both the proposed rates and outlines the procedures taken prior to the adoption of those rates, such as recognizing that an engineer's report was adopted on April 28th, 2026 for these replenishment assessment rates. And this particular year's resolution also memorializes the adoption of the RAC rates from fiscal years 2021 through 2026. And those are included as reference as legal requirements as we go through the litigation pertaining these rates. I'm going to turn it over to Alan. He will go over the presentation for these rates. And Alan, myself, and Mr. Colantano are here to answer questions regarding these particular rates.
All right, thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. We've been at this for a few months now. If we go to the second slide, excuse me, where we're at in the process. We presented the RAC cost of service studies and the start of the Prop 218 process on March 24th, 2026. And quickly thereafter, actually by March 27th, we mailed out the 218 notices. So today where we're at, we'll look, and if the protest vote fails, the board can choose to enact the proposed rate increase, or you've got the choice to have any rates that are at or below the proposed rates in the 218 notice. And that's kind of what we've set up here, right? So, you know, in the 218 notice, we talked about the cost of service rates, but because of the application of non-rate revenue, you're able to charge less than that cost of service. But if the protest vote passes, the board can still adopt rates under Prop 26, which you've done in the past. And then just like the canal rates, future rates will be reviewed on an annual basis within the budget process. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at rate studies, there's kind of several things we're looking for. And the main thing is we want rates that keep the RAC funds healthy. So that includes covering your operating costs and also looking at kind of what your savings are, which is your reserve fund. And then also we've got to look at the impact of the appeal court's judgment and how that really direction to come up with a rate across the whole district as opposed to the RAC regions we have now. We needed to look at that. And then we needed to meet Prop 218 requirements, and really should be Prop 218 and Prop 26 as well. Prop 218 and 26 kind of gives us belt and suspenders. And then make sure that we confirm that the cost of service is higher than the current rates that we set. Okay, next slide. So pretty similar to what was done in the canal side. So what's different in these rate studies? Well, one of the things that we really want to emphasize is the cost of service rates. Given all the different litigation that the district has been involved in terms of rates, you know, there's kind of been a misunderstanding in terms of what cost of service really means. So what we want to highlight is what are the costs to provide the service, and then demonstrate that we're charging less than the cost of service because of the application of the non-rate revenue. As Carla mentioned before, the non-rate revenue is property taxes. It is actually some non-potable water sales and investment revenue, investment earnings on reserves. And again, the district has the discretion to apply those non-rate revenues to what they feel is the best use within the district. And then in this one, previous to other studies that have been done, rate studies for RAC, we show the impact of a combined RAC rate. So as I mentioned earlier, the Court of Appeals said the district had not adequately justified the areas of benefit. And so, you know, we've got to look at things as a whole. And so we've done that. And if we go to the next slide, I'll do a summary. Oops, there we go. So this is essentially sets the upper limit of where we're at. So in the cost of service RAC rates, what you see here is a little bit different than just your other budget stuff because it doesn't show the other operating revenues. Now we're looking just at operating expenses and their categories on the left-hand side and the non-operating revenue expenses. So the column on the left, again, for the combined cost of service for the three areas of benefit are broken out there with what's projected for 2026 and then for each fiscal year going forward through fiscal year 2031 projected on the right. And you'll actually see in fiscal year 26, because of the large water purchases that were made and pre-purchases, you had like $52 million of operating expenses there. And if you look at just the water purchase line, you can see that that kind of drops over the future years there. So, you know, that's one of the big changes in the operating revenue. And then, you know, if you look down at the non-operating revenue expenses, then you're picking up your debt service, any type of CIP that'll be going on. And so that's where it's broken out there. So we take the total of those expenses and then divide it just by the projected pumping to come up with a cost of service RAC rate. So this year, for example, a cost of service RAC rate, when you looked at everything from an annual basis, was almost $378 per acre foot. And then going forward, because some of those costs have dropped, and again, the water purchase for for example, drop, you can see that that cost of service rack rate drops, the 195, the 172, the 190, and so on. That creates your ceiling. Okay, so to comply with the appeal court judgment, any rate that we set has to be below those numbers. Okay, next slide.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. Sorry, 2 questions. So, so the legal contingency accrual, the 50 million. So, do we anticipate that that's going to be spent anytime soon, or are we just going to continue to carry that as an accrual?
No, we do have a judgment, and we do anticipate to pay this out soon.
So fiscal year 27 sometime?
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question is, why is the projected pumping numbers, why are they flat?
Oh.
What am I missing here? So it doesn't change.
Oh, so basically, so I can answer that one, Carla.
Thank you,
Alan. What you have to do is do a forecast of, what you expect in future pumping, and because we didn't have great data, we took the most recent projected pumping numbers and held those going forward. Some initial looks at when they were doing some of the water plant, it actually had that number potentially going down as more potable or non-potable sales took place. But the non-potable projects were not coming online that soon. And if you projected those dropping your amount of acre feet you sold, then you're bumping up the price. And so we felt it was probably better to keep that consistent across the board.
And sorry for clarification on the legal contingency, that does include state water project legal contingency, and that may or may not be paid next year, but the replenishment portion would be. So about 50% of the total. Yes.
Okay, so if we look at the rate study results, they're summarized in this slide here. And I did put in the 3 previous years, and you can see that the rates are the same. So for each area of benefit, the current rack rates are shown, then the cost of service for that area of a benefit is shown, and then what we propose. And then, so it's shown for west, Mission Creek, and then east. And then just for reference, I put the combined area of benefits down at the bottom, because again, that is your ceiling. You can't go higher than that. So if we go to the West Whitewater, for the last 3 years, looking at that current rate, this chart shows on the bottom left-hand corner what I'll call your checkbook. And basically the rate revenue is in the blue and the non-rate revenue is in the green. And that solid line is your total of your expenses. So in proposed next year, we're not going to have enough revenue to cover those expenses, which means our reserves drop down. Now, in the right-hand box at the bottom, that's essentially, I'll call it your savings account. And so you can see that our reserves are a little lower than our target. And then the box on the right, the assigned reserves are essentially what you have based on your targets you've created. And then the unassigned is above that. And the blue line is showing using your reserve policies where that target should be. And so we start out a little bit low, but as we saw before, some of the costs drop. And so we're able to, start building our reserves there. So we also on this one, without getting into a lot of detail, we needed just some of this to make sure that we were fine with any of the rate covenants we had. So why don't we jump to the mission next?
I have a question for
Oh, sure.
West. Are we using state water project tax
No.
in this fund?
No.
No, just the general property tax. And then the other non-rate revenues I mentioned before would be the non-potable sales and then investment income on the reserves.
So we don't. There's no state water project water that's used for replenishment in the West Rack.
There is water, but we don't use the rate. We don't use a property tax, the state water project property tax. But we do pay part of the electrical, the transportation charges, part of from West. I can't remember the percentage, David. Is it
Close to
20,
all of it, right? I mean, it's
20 some odd percent?
Anyway, no,
Yes.
I mean, I don't need to get into too much into the details, but I'm trying to follow what we've done with state water project tax. You know, it's kind of
The use of
moved-
that revenue.
It's kind of been moved since I've been here over the last 12 years, and so
it's been
Yes,
used
it's-
to
well,
pay,
I know
to pay
what,
for the water.
what I mean is I'm not. I don't mean they got moved from one rack to another rack. What I mean it just moved in general, like it's somewhere, right? And
It's
so
only in the state water project fund and only utilized for state water project cost, billed by DWR.
So where does that? So that water gets replenished somewhere, right? We buy that water, and it gets used for replenishment somewhere. Where does it get used?
It goes into the West.
It's all used at Whitewater.
It's all used at Whitewater and at the replenishment facility that we currently operate concurrently with Mission Springs.
Okay, so to my point, is the state water project tax paying for that water?
For the water itself, yes.
Yes. So the West Rack doesn't carry that cost.
There are water purchase costs for West, yes.
So West buys the water from.
So yeah, we kind of went through this when we had the purchase agreement with Metropolitan where we advance purchased.
Right.
We can use the state water project property tax for charges that appear on the invoices from the state. There are other costs affiliated with the replenishment operations at Whitewater and with Mission Springs that cannot be paid by state water project property tax. And that's what the West Rack covers.
Okay, no, I get that,
Yes,
and
there's
that.
also canal water.
No, I get all that. But what I'm saying is, in theory, the West Rack gets a huge savings because otherwise it would have to carry the cost of the water that's being used to
Correct.
replenish
Correct.
in the
That is
West.
correct.
Correct.
Right?
If we did not have the state water project tax, you are correct. These replenishment funds would pay for the purchase of water.
And that is at a tune of what? Like how much are we buy? How much water are we buying?
That's a lot
It's
of
like
millions
70
of dollars.
It's like 70 million a year.
70 million a year. Okay, so that's. I mean, I just wanted to make that point. That
Yes.
Yeah, that West Rack would be significantly higher
yeah.
if we didn't have the state water project.
So I wanted to make that point because I think it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly does.
And Desert Water Agency has a similar tax.
Okay.
Okay, if we can go to the Mission Creek rate study results slide. So again, showing the current and the cost of service and the proposed rates. You can see the 135.52 for the last 3 years. The cost of service is substantially higher here. And if you look down at the lower left-hand box, again, I'll kind of refer it to your checking account. Your expenses way exceed your rate revenue, and there is no non-rate revenue that's given to the Mission Creek. And if we go to the right-hand side, the 7 count, they've actually got a lot of reserves sitting there, and so the 135 proposed rack rate essentially holds it the same, but it drops those reserves down. Okay, so that's okay. Any questions on the east? On the east, looking at again the same format. You can see on the revenues and expenses, our expenses are lower starting out in fiscal year 27. They tend to creep up there, but in general, that stays pretty level. So if you look at the right-hand side, again, your savings account, you've got some substantial reserves there, and just by holding those rates. Now, this was one that, because of some rate covenants, we had to have the rate increase $1 each year going forward, just to make sure we maintained the debt service covenant. But otherwise, you can see financially that that's in good shape. Okay. And so, next slide, please.
President Powell has a question, Alan.
Oh, sure.
Hi, Alan. So you
Hi.
just to clarify, you said that. Are you saying we needed to go to that $1, the 73, and then $1 in order to meet our debt covenant ratio?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is not really.
The reserves don't really.
If we
count.
don't do that raise, if we don't do that increase, we're going to be in violation of our covenant.
Right. We would have to issue a notice of violation. We could cover with reserves for a year, but anything after that would potentially lower our overall credit rating for the agency. It would be a disclosure on an ongoing basis until it's corrected and we meet the debt coverage ratio.
What debt are we carrying?
For this particular one, I'm sorry, I was just looking that up actually.
The Oasis project?
The Oasis project, yes.
Yeah, and why wouldn't
The
we?
certificate of participation.
The Oasis project has a mechanism that transfers money in order to meet those obligations, right?
Property tax revenue is held
Yeah.
with the county to pay the debt
Why
service.
wouldn't
yes.
we? Why wouldn't? Is that an option?
That would continue. That is an obligation under that debt, and so that can't go away. That's how that debt is structured. That
No,
property
I
tax
don't. I
revenue
don't
is
mean
set
that.
aside
I
for
mean,
that.
I mean the. I guess the proposal
could add additional property tax
Correct.
revenue.
Correct. Because,
Should you want to in the future
yeah,
years.
because I think the intent of the Oasis project and the financing for that was to not put that stress on the rack rate. It was meant to be carried by this other mechanism that we put together. So, which I think is a function of that tax. So why wouldn't we?
So there's two things. The tax holds only the debt service portion with the county and then remits the difference to us. We could add additional property tax revenue to this particular fund in the east and lower it from another fund to add more to then
The point I'm making
meet the
though,
debt coverage ratio.
The point I'm making though is that if this is a function of the debt coverage, which is the Oasis project,
right,
then it should be carried by the tax mechanism that we implemented to fund that project.
I think it's part of the O&M increases. It's two separate funding sources, I guess. You can think about it as two separate property tax funding sources. One that's obligated for the debt and one that we can adjust to different funds, which is the general property tax revenue. But you could,
I get
yes,
that.
adjust
No, I get that.
What about the curtailment revenue? Is that
You could utilize the curtailment revenue
I mean,
also.
how much money are we talking about here to make that 33 cents?
Oh,
It's 33 cents.
Should be the $5.
What am I saying? No, 73 cents.
73
If you wanted to hold the 73, we could do that. Give you that option.
I mean, there's
every
a
year.
You mean hold the 72.7?
To hold the
Hold the 72.27.
I mean,
hold the 73.
The difference is 73 cents.
Yeah.
And so, what's the gross dollar amount of that in a year? What is that?
Ellen, I don't know if you have the model open and can
What's
do that
73
math,
cents worth?
but
It's basically
times what? Times 40,000.
It's basically 1% of your rack revenue in that fund.
And I guess I would ask Michael to give us his legal opinion of not adopting the first
Correct.
year of the cost of service study.
Correct.
And what those implications could be with the appellate court judgment that we were given.
What was that again?
I would ask Michael to just advise the board on what it means to not adopt the first year of the cost of service study rates, because they are aligned with the appellate court judgment that the district was given.
We have, by practice, the board has consistently when we do a cost of service study, approved the first year in the cost of service study. And then there's been discussion on what the subsequent rates are during subsequent budgets. But to not approve the first year
The
of a
70
cost of
cents?
service study basically could potentially invalidate the entire study and the board action.
Okay, so you mean the 70 cents? So you're saying we should increase it by 70 cents, and then if we choose to keep it at 73 moving forward, that would be fine.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So I
But wasn't that an issue on the canal fund?
Because the canal fund was the second year.
yeah. So
Second year.
look, I think at minimum, we ought to consider that. We haven't made any replenishment in that facility, and folks are carrying the cost of the operations of that, which I think is providing no benefit. And I think there's a proposal to continue to do that for maybe 3 more years. I just don't see how we could sit here and propose a rate increase when folks are not getting any benefit out of that.
But we can still send this out. We can still send this out, and then next year have that discussion, right?
Right.
Well, all right. So, is Michael on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, it sounds like there is a compelling legal argument for adopting the $73 for the first year. Is that right?
The judgment required us to stop collecting the rates that were imposed in 21, 22, and 23. Our position is that each year that you adopt a budget at a rate amounts to a new rate, ending the rate the year before. Our position is that the rate study that you adopted independently of a rate making in 2024 was also the basis for your rate makings in 25 and 26. This year, we want to be able to say that regardless of whether the court or our opposing counsel is persuaded of those ideas, this year we did a study, a notice, a hearing, and adopted a new rate. And since the rate that we're proposing is not materially different than the existing rate, but it isn't exactly the same rate, we think it's helpful for you to adopt it. And then in future years, you can do what you always do, which is balance the needs of the district and the needs of your customers.
Correct.
Which is what we did on the canal fund. Okay. So, I'm clear on that. Thank you.
So I guess I'm not clear. So if the direction that we're headed in is that we would only approve the 27 rate at 73, is that what I'm hearing?
That's all we're going to do
Right.
anyway.
Today, you would only approve the
We couldn't
27.
we couldn't even approve.
We're only doing one
We
year
couldn't,
at a time.
but the suggestion is that after fiscal year 27, potentially that would remain flat.
It could, should the
I think there
board
would be
decide
some
to do
proposals
that.
for that.
And if that's the case, do you see that putting our debt covenant at risk?
If we would have to move around some additional property tax revenue, or if there is additional curtailment and the expenses are lower, then that would reduce the
So they would replace
expenses.
that.
And so,
Okay, okay.
so that's why there is an ongoing conversation on an annual basis to determine those future
And
rates.
Director Aguilar, and the point I'm making is that the water that's not being replenished at the East facility is generating millions of dollars, and there's still operating costs that are being absorbed by rate payers that are essentially getting no benefit. So I find that very hard to understand how we could be here proposing rate increases while at the same time not doing any replenishment. It just kind of really strange to me.
And don't let those debt covenants, guide you on every single decision, because you have to put in context where we are. I mean, are we far apart or are we real close? So if the difference is between an A plus or an A, it's
Yeah, well, I hear
we
you,
don't
but
need
I
to-
would never want to get as close at any point to having to get some kind of judgment for violation of a debt service covenant. So I will continue to make that point as long as we're having this discussion.
Fair.
Right, and as confusing as this always is, the action before the board is to accept the entire cost of service study, not just the rates for this year. You have the opportunity each year to adjust the subsequent rates through the budget process. But the action here is to approve the entire cost of service.
It validates the cost
Correct.
of service study.
Correct.
Does the cost of service make any suggestion as to where that curtailment money lands?
No, but it does use some of the money to keep the rates below the actual cost of service.
No.
Which
this one,
which funds are
the
those?
Curtailment is in the canal fund.
Yeah, it does.
And so it's not noted in this cost of service study.
He pulled it for this as well.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Because see, how do you get from 106 to 73?
Discretionary property tax revenues.
That was a comment that I had during the cost of service process, and I think during the item that we
That's what it
adopted, adopting the cost of service was any sort of,
For the canal fund.
well, any sort of like agreement from this dais or from the board as to where, like,
It's in
how much are we
reserves.
locked into where those dollars are used because we put those in the cost of service.
No. You're not locked into using the curtailment until you take action during a budget study session or a rate hearing to formally utilize those reserves. The curtailment reserves
But I
specifically.
thought I just heard that we're using it to buy down some of the rates.
No, sorry, Jim. The this cost
Jim
of service study does not include any reference to the curtailment revenue. That is strictly in canal. And the canal has been utilizing the regular reserves. The rate study did say you could utilize the one-time curtailment revenue, but we did not draw down on that. So if
Right.
you noted in the previous rate hearing, it still had the $58 million.
And it's available for future use.
All right, thank you.
Can't wait for that study session. Okay. Anything else, Carla?
I think Ellen has one or two more slides. Oops,
Yeah,
sorry.
just one last slide, and really, I think it's something we just covered. You know, basically, the proposed rack rates to be approved today are just for the fiscal year 27, and those are for the west 172 and Mission Creek 135 and east 73. Other than that, that kind of ends my presentation, and happy to answer any other questions before you start the public hearing.
Thanks, Alan. We might have a question once we get to the final item, but I think you've done a good job.
Thank you.
Ready? Let's go. This is the time and place fixed for a public hearing on the proposed rate increases for replenishment assessment charges for fiscal years 2027 through 2031, which is being held in accordance with the procedural provisions of Prop 218, California Water Code sections 31630 through 31639. Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this public hearing?
Yes, President Powell, notice of the hearing and the proposed rate increase was given by direct mail to property owners and tenants of real property who may be directly liable to pay the charges for replenishment assessment charges, and by legal publication in the Desert Sun and the Imperial Valley Press. Proof of publication notice of this hearing is included from the United States Postal Service, consolidated postage statement, standard mail, proof of publication from the Desert Sun and Imperial Valley Press, and the affidavits of posting.
I will defer to legal counsel regarding the purpose of today's public hearing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The requirements of Prop 26 and 218 and California Water Code Section 31630 through 31639 are being followed, although it is CBWD's view that only Prop 26 and the Water Code apply. The date and time of this public hearing is not less than 45 days after the mailing of the notice. The purpose of the hearing is to hear oral testimony and consider written protests or objections concerning the proposed ordinance and resolution, which would authorize the adjustments to the rates. A customer or property owner is not required to provide oral testimony in order to submit a written protest. A written protest must specify that it is being submitted in protest or objection, include the customer's or property owner's name, parcel number, and or service address, and be signed. If written protests against the proposed rates are presented by a majority of owners of the identified parcels upon which the rates are to be imposed, the board may choose not to impose the adjustments to the rates. If written protests against the proposed rates are not presented by a majority of owners, of the identified parcels upon which the rates are to be imposed. The board may impose the adjustments to the rates if it decides to adopt the proposed ordinance and resolution. A written objection stating reasons is required for a later legal challenge to rates, and that challenge will be limited to the issues raised in the objection. The board will consider all protests and adopt written findings in response to the substantive protests. As explained in the hearing notice, the publications and the agenda for this meeting, the individuals wishing to address the board were given the opportunity to provide written comments in advance of the meeting via mail. Individuals may provide public comment during this meeting via telephone or online meeting platform. Any protests that are submitted must include an image of the protester's signature, and protests must be received by the district prior to the close of the hearing.
Thank you. I hereby declare the public hearing open and will request that those wishing to speak please give your name and property location and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll now hear from anyone who wishes to come forward to speak.
And we do have one. Cameron, come on up.
You've been very patient, so well done.
And he also submitted written, so.
Their bill
Thank you.
is going down his.
Well, let's hear the comments. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Cameron Eglinton, and I am from a fish farm at 17955 Bubbling Wells Road in Desert Hot Springs. And we have a well that we maintain and operate, and the water we use for our fish goes back into ponds and then into the ground. And we were just wondering if there's any possibility of a consideration of giving us some sort of relief with the rack, because it would help things in general. And I feel like we don't have a lot of vegetation on site in our settling ponds, so possibly the water's not being completely used up and leaving everything. It kind of goes back into the ground, so I'm not sure if that constitutes replenishment.
Are your ponds lined?
One of them is for the waste. The others, it just goes in the ground.
Okay. Was that your father that used to come in here?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Mark.
Mark
Eglinton.
Eglinton.
Kind of an accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he visited us several times.
Yeah,
it's been
probably.
A while. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have anyone else wishing to comment? Okay. Do we have any written communications?
It's just the same from Hamilton, which
Cameron,
we'll enter
okay.
into the record. Mhm.
Thank you.
And just to ask your special counsel, there were responses to objection letters that were provided in the agenda packet. I don't know if you want to make a reference or need to make a further reference to those.
Yeah, the law requires the board to review those before it acts. So the action that you take at the end of this discussion should include a statement that you have reviewed those prior to acting.
Under the ordinance or the resolution?
It's the rate making that matters, and so I think it's the resolution.
All right.
Could be both.
Okay, thanks.
So these protest letters?
So the response to the objection letters, maybe Mr. Alcantara can explain why this is important under AB 2257.
There's a new statute that allows us to require people to file an objection and tell us what their legal concerns are while we have a chance to fix it. And if they don't, they can't sue us. If they do, they can only sue us on the theories that they mentioned in their protest. The statute conditions our right to this defense on our allowing objections and our responding to those objections in writing before the rates are made. Logically, this only applies to legal objections, like you're violating the Constitution in this way, and not to policy objections like this is too much, I can't afford it. But we have drawn the line favoring responding to everybody that says anything substantive at all. And so we've given you an attachment to your staff report, which is a compilation of the written comments that we received and our responses to them.
Right.
And that should be incorporated in your rate-making decision today.
Yes, thank you. All right. I am prepared to close the public hearing. However, before I do that, I would like to provide anyone who would like to submit or withdraw a written protest or objection the opportunity to do so. Once the protest hearing is closed, state law prohibits us from accepting any further written protests or objections. Are there any remaining written protests or objections to be delivered to the board clerk? Hearing none, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. We will now have the written protests tabulated. Yes. Go ahead, Clerk Bermudez.
Okay, I was just waiting for that line.
Yours.
15,632 parcels have been identified that could be affected by the proposed replenishment rate increases. In this instance, a majority protest would exist if the district received 7,816 written protests and objections. Prior to the close of the public hearing, prior to the close of this hearing, the district received 12 written protests, 1 objection from qualifying owners and tenants of the identified parcels. A majority protest does not exist, and the board may proceed to consider adoption of the ordinance and resolution.
Thank you. Okay, so we have an opportunity now for board discussion. At this time, the board is asked to consider the protests and objections, the proposed written responses to the objections, and the adoption of Ordinance 1400.1 and Resolution 2026-08, authorizing adjustment to the requirements for usage of power meter consumption records for the purpose of calculating groundwater production, and increases to the fiscal year 2027 rates for replenishment assessment charges effective July. It says increases, but isn't it a, what am I looking at here? For Mission Creek is actually a decrease, right?
Mhm.
Correct. Yes.
So increases and decrease.
Increases
Mm-hmm.
and
For the fiscal 2027 rates for replenishment assessment charges effective July 1, 2026.
So if the board wishes to proceed, I would recommend separate actions on the approval of the ordinance and the resolution.
Okay. All right, well, why don't we consider the ordinance first? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1400.1?
With, for the record, the reference to the response to objection letters dated May 14th, 2026.
Exactly. I'll make
Oh.
that. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry, John. I'll make the motion to approve the ordinance.
Okay. And I'll second that motion. Do we have any other discussion before we vote? Is roll call vote? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Yes.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Yes.
and Director Sanchez.
Aye.
Okay. And then do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-08? Do I need to read all that? I don't think so. I already read it.
Well, with the reference to the response to objection letters dated May 14th, 2026.
Yes, thank you. So moved. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Oh,
If you
that's
don't
not
need
needed,
it,
but you can take one.
but you
Let's
can
do
take
it.
All right.
Let's do it.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Yes.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Yes.
and Director Sanchez.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, pass
Bravo.
5-0.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Alan
Thank
and
you.
Michael.
Thanks, Carla.
It's quite an effort, everybody.
Thanks,
Really
Michael. Thanks, Alan.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, quite an effort. Good team. Good team. Okay, that's the one.
Lupe, first one.
We're on to, oh,
Nervous? No, of course not.
The room cleared out. Thankfully,
Confident.
there was.
so this brings us to 7C. At this time, staff will provide a presentation on the 2025 Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Following the presentation, we will open the public hearing to receive input from the public. Making the presentation today is Guadalupe Lara, Water Source Resources and Planning Administrator. Go ahead.
Thank you. So good morning, President Powell and members of the board. My name is Lupe Lara Angenescu. As President Powell said, I am the Water Resources and Planning Administrator. Today's item is a public hearing and request for adoption of the 2025 Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan and public hearing, along with the 2025 Water Shortage Contingency Plan and Resolution 2026-09. The Urban Water Management Planning Act requires urban water suppliers like CVWD to update and adopt a water management plan every 5 years and to submit that plan to the California Department of Water Resources by July 1st, 2026. The presentation today will provide an overview of the Regional Urban Water Management Plan, including projected water demands over a 25-year planning horizon, available and future water supplies, ongoing conservation and efficiency programs, long-term water supply reliability, and the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, which outlines how the district would respond during drought and emergency conditions. This plan was developed collaboratively with 5 other regional agencies to ensure a coordinated approach to water management across the Coachella Valley. Following the presentation and public hearing, staff is recommending that the board adopt the 2025 Regional Urban Water Management Plan, including the 2025 Water Shortage Contingency Plan as Appendix C, and Resolution 2026-09, and authorize the submission of these plans to the state. Adoption of these plans is required to comply with state law and ensures that the district maintains a long-term strategy for water supply reliability, is prepared to respond to drought and supply challenges, and remain eligible for state funding opportunities. This plan also reflects significant coordination across the regional agencies and provides a clear roadmap for managing water resources over the next 25 years. The draft plans were made available on April 13, 2026, and were available for public review until May 3rd, 2026. No comments were received during that period, and the final draft was published May 12, 2026. Notice of the public hearing was posted in the Desert Sun on both May 13th and May 20th, 2026. At this time, I'd like to introduce Rosalind Prickett, who is from Rincon Consultants, and they assisted us in preparation of the Regional Urban Water Management Plan. They will walk through key highlights of the plan and be available for any question along with our staff here. So I will hand it over to Rosalind, who will be presenting, believe she's online.
Thank you, Lupe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thanks so much. Thank you, CVWD Board of Directors, staff, and members of the community. My name is Rosalind Prickett. I'm a principal and water resources planner with Rincon Consultants, and I am pleased to be joining you today to present the Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan. On the next slide, we have an overview of the different components of an urban water management plan. We'll talk first about the UWMP Act requirements, and then we'll go through the major sections of the UWMP itself. We've provided a region overview. We'll talk about the demand forecast and how we've incorporated conservation, our supply portfolio, how we've evaluated supply reliability, the individual water shortage contingency plan prepared by CVWD, and then our timeline for adoption. So our next slide shows the UWMP Act requirements. The Urban Water Management Plan Act was passed in 1984. As Lupe stated, it is a state law that requires urban water suppliers to prepare a water management plan every 5 years. They're prepared to contain information through the 0 and the 5 year. They're submitted by July 1st on the 1 and the 6. So we have all of our information through the end of 2025, which we'll be submitting to DWR by July 1st, 2026. The UWMP Act allows multiple agencies to collaborate to prepare a regional UWMP, so that's what we've done. I'll show you those folks on the next slide. The core requirements for an urban water management plan include a description of your water service area, estimates of past, present, and future water use, estimates of existing and planned supply sources, a description of our conservation programs, a drought risk assessment, which looks at water shortage conditions, and then a water shortage contingency plan. On the next slide is our region description. So this is the region that is covered by the Regional Urban Water Management Plan. You can see here there are 6 entities. The blue, of course, is Coachella Valley Water District. The yellow is Coachella Water Authority, or the City of Coachella. The sort of turquoise color next to Coachella, of course, is Indio. The pink is Myoma Dunes Water Company. Up in the western part of the valley, the green is Desert Water Agency, and that hatched area overlying the green is Mission Springs Water District. And together, potable water is served to nearly 200,000 urban connections across these 6 entities. We do forecast that by 2050, 196,000 acre feet of potable production will be produced for urban uses within the region. As you know, there are 4 groundwater replenishment facilities. There is the Mission Creek Groundwater Replenishment Facility in the north, Whitewater River GRF, the Palm Desert GRF in the central portion of the valley, and then, of course, Thomas E. Levy down in the East Valley. That turquoise border, or that turquoise line you can see running up the northern portion of the valley is a Colorado River aqueduct from Metropolitan, which delivers some of our imported water. And then that dark blue line coming up the east side of Salton Sea is the Coachella Canal. There are 9 wastewater treatment or reclamation facilities throughout the valley, owned and operated by a variety of the entities here, and over 1,500 estimated miles of pipeline. Our next slide shows our demand forecast. So this is the cumulative demand forecast for all 6 entities shown here. You can see that the anticipated increase from around 168,000 all the way up to nearly 200,000 acre feet of urban water use across the valley. CVWD, as you can see, is the largest proportion as you serve the greatest number of customers across the valley. Now, we use the Southern California Association of Governments, the SCAG forecast, their 2024 Connect SoCal growth forecast to project water use across the valley. We looked at anticipated population growth, housing growth, and employment growth within the area of Coachella Valley. We allocated water use by water agency to that new population and new housing growth. So demand is anticipated to increase over the next 25 years. SCAG did project population growth across Riverside County by approximately 50% by 2050, and some of that growth has been allocated to Coachella Valley, although not at a 50% growth rate. Our 2025 population is estimated at about 309,000 individuals, and our 2050 population is anticipated to grow to about 423,000. So Indio and Mission Creek subbasins, as you know, are the primary source of supply. And the analysis that I'll present today shows that we anticipate we can meet future demand based on our current assumptions.
Can I just ask a question?
Increase.
Why do we have to use such huge numbers? I mean, so we're talking it's 2026, and you're telling me we're at 309,000, and you're saying in 24 years, the assumptions in this is 115,000 more people?
Correct. This is the growth forecast that SCAG has developed. Now, this is based on the general plan forecast for all of the municipalities across Coachella Valley. So they take each of the general plans from the municipalities, they collaborate with the planning managers and directors from those municipalities to identify the amount of growth that is anticipated before 2050. And then they allocate it geographically based on where that growth happens within those municipalities. We then take that data and we assign water use factors to each of those housing units or employees to forecast out our water use over time.
So the SCAG figure that we're using, you have to use that number?
It's the best available information that we have.
Well, and I think the question is, do we have to go out that far? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
No. That's not what I was asking. What I'm asking is why do we have to use a number that is, to me, seems unrealistic? I mean, it seems, yeah, it doesn't seem realistic at all.
What I think you'll find striking as we move through the presentation is that while there is a significant amount of population growth anticipated, the water use efficiency regulations that you have in place and are going to be implementing over the next 20 years will actually stabilize demands over time, and your urban demands won't really grow by too much.
No, I understand that, but it just, I mean, I guess it's a good thing, but I'm just thinking, these it just seems unrealistic for us to think that there's 120,000 more people going to come into our service district. That's not the whole Coachella Valley.
This is the whole Coachella Valley.
Oh, that is.
I'm so sorry that if I misspoke there. This is all of Coachella Valley, not just CVWD. It's a regional UWMP, so we rolled up all of the population by valley.
So you said 309,000 people. There's more than 309,000 people when you add all the cities up. So it's not. That's just 309 in our service.
It's not Desert Hot Springs.
Well, she just told me it's the whole Coachella Valley. So when I say the whole Coachella Valley, we're talking about.
It's the Indusat Basin.
Okay. All right. I'm just asking questions on what you're telling me. No, you told me 309,000 people, and then you told me that includes the whole Coachella Valley. That doesn't include the whole Coachella Valley, I don't believe. There's
I'll have to go back and confirm. I apologize if I misspoke. I believe my notes were regional, but I'll go check the population tables.
Okay. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that maybe in the future we need to use something that's a little bit more closer to what's actually happening here, because as water is going to get scarce, it's going to paint a picture on that we're going to have to really cut back on with conservation, and because we're anticipating all this growth. So I'm just kind of speaking out loud. I mean, if the whole state of California is using this SCAG numbers, then we're really in trouble with water, I think, in the next 24 years. Okay, go ahead.
All of the counties that are participating in the SCAG as their COG generally use the SCAG growth forecasts in both land use and water resources planning. So it is a common data source to be using for population and housing growth forecast.
I mean, you can, okay. I mean, that why use them when they're not even close? So that's my point. I mean, we can't get anything built here right now. So, I mean, and we expect that many.
It's coming.
We'll see. Okay.
So on the next slide, our demand forecast is shown here. So one thing to note, you'll see that these demand numbers are lower than some of the demand numbers that are water use numbers that you see in the engineer's report and the sustainable groundwater management annual reports that you see coming before the board each year. And this is because our non-potable irrigation demands for agriculture and golf courses So those demands that are served by canal water, imported Colorado River water, or recycled water are not included in our urban water management plan, as well as the water supplies to fish farms and other recreational uses in East Valley. So that non-potable water is not accounted for. It is only accounted, we only account in the urban demands for non-potable water that is used to serve HOAs, churches, schools, and other urban users. So our conservation, as part of this demand forecast, we've considered the different conservation programs that you have in place. The next slide shows our values specific to CVWD. So you can see we have the demand forecast. The baseline demand is that hatched number, and you can see the increase that corresponds with that increased housing and employment growth. But we've incorporated assumptions about conservation. So we've incorporated both passive conservation, which means plumbing, indoor fixture turnover. Plumbing code is mandating more efficient fixtures, and as people remodel their homes, that water use does go down over time. We've also included active conservation programs, so things like implementation of water use efficiency measures in accordance with CVWD's landscape ordinance, or the turf replacement and irrigation rebate programs. So we've considered all of that. You can see that the population growth is estimated to be about 21%. But with those conservation measures, we anticipate only about a 3% relatively stable increase in demands over the service area through 2050. Recycled water expansion within the service area from the WARP 7 and WARP 10 treatment plants are also anticipated to further offset potable demand. So incorporated in that purple line is that offset. The next slide shows our supply. The water demands and conservation, as I mentioned, do include the passive conservation assumptions as well as active conservation programs. And I wanted to itemize the active conservation programs because CVWD really has a wonderful suite of conservation programming, from your water waste prevention ordinance to public education, a broad public education and outreach program, programs to assess and manage distribution system losses, and of course, your water conservation program coordination and your staff that helps to implement the suite of programs that you have. The next slide shows our supply portfolio. This graphic shows the full region and the 4 groundwater subbasins within the Coachella Valley groundwater basin. You can see those 4 groundwater replenishment facilities. As you know, CVWD relies on a mix of local and imported water sources. The regional supplies in turn are presented in the urban water management plan as your imported Colorado River water and your exchanged state water project water. So all of those groundwater replenishment supplies that come in through the Colorado River Aqueduct, the Coachella Canal, to replenish those 4 groundwater facilities. The urban demands, as presented in the UWMP, are served by groundwater primarily. As you know, Desert Water Agency does divert and use some local service water. There is some non-potable irrigation demands for HOAs and schools that are served by that imported Colorado River water. And then, of course, the recycled water that is used also for those urban irrigation supplies. But primarily, the water supply portfolio for CVWD is groundwater. Our next slide shows our drought risk assessment. So as part of the urban water management plan, we are required to evaluate both single year and multiple year drought scenarios. So as you can see here, we've matched yearly rainfall precipitation here in the blue bars against demand. You can see in that orange line, you can see the 2012 to 2016 drought. that occurred statewide really reduced your sort of baseline demands or water use over time. You can see that the peak there is just under 200,000. It's really sort of stabilized at that slightly lower level, hovering about 168-ish thousand acre feet. The Indio and Mission Creek subbasins are collectively, as you know, managed by CVWD, Desert Water Agency, Indio Water Authority, Coachella Water Authority, and Mission Springs Water District as part of your Sustainable Groundwater Management Act compliance and preparation of the 2 alternative plans under SGMA. And this UWMP, the demands and supplies identified in this UWMP were directly coordinated with the teams that are preparing the alternative plans. So in our drought reliability assessment, we evaluated those multiple year droughts. What happens if there's a 5-year drought moving forward? And how does the region, CVWD's customers, respond in terms of water use, demands go up. And then what happens when you implement your water shortage contingency plan, or you increase implementation of the various conservation programs that you have in place?
Hey, Rosalind, could you do us a favor? We've had a very long meeting. Can we try to move this along, please?
Of course.
I got to say, one of the stupidest slides I've ever seen in my life. That's slide number 9. I know the state's requiring you to do it, and we're doing it, but the relationship between rainfall and water supply here is meaningless. All right, go ahead.
In the drought reliability assessment, we've forecasted no supply shortages through the year 2050.
And that's assuming 115,000 people are going to move here. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Correct. The last slide is our water shortage contingency plan. So CVWD has a structured plan to predict and respond to water shortages. There are core components of the water shortage contingency plan that are required by the state. We have 6 standard shortage levels, response actions, various communication, compliance, and monitoring protocols. And this ensures that CVWD can respond quickly and effectively during drought. So things that implemented from mandates to repair broken sprinklers to expanding public information campaigns and rebate programs to implementing drought penalties. And that can be found in Appendix C of the regional UWMP. So finally, we have our adoption schedule on our last slide. We have incorporated and of course released the final draft regional UWMP. CVWD's hearing today is the first in the 6 adoption hearings. You can see they're outlined here for each of the partnering agencies. And then by July 1st of 2026, we will submit to DWR. So thanks again for having me today.
Thank you. This proves the one-size-fits-all thing doesn't always work. All right. At least to me it does. What else we got here? I guess, is it my turn?
Yes.
This is the time and place fixed for the public hearing on 2025 Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this public hearing?
Yes, President Powell. We have, in accordance with applicable law, including Water Code Section 10642 and Government Code Section 6066, a notice of this public hearing was published within the jurisdiction of the district on May 13th and May 26th, 2026. Written notice of availability for review of these documents and of this public hearing was also provided to the cities, counties, tribes of the Coachella Valley.
Thank you. I will defer to legal counsel regarding the purpose of today's public hearing.
Yes, Mr. President. In accordance with the applicable law, including but not limited to Water Code 10642, a public hearing is being held in order to provide members of the public and other interested entities with the opportunity to be heard in connection with the proposed adoption of the 2025 Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Following the public hearing, the Board of Directors will consider adoption of these documents as amended by changes incorporated by the Board of Directors as a result of input received, if any, from the public at the public hearing.
Thank you. I hereby declare the public hearing open and will request that those wishing to speak please give your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will now hear from anyone who wishes to come forward to speak. Don't hear anyone. Clerk Bermudez, have we received any written communications?
No, President Powell, we have not received any written communications.
Thank you. I'm prepared to close the public hearing. However, before I do that, I would like to provide an opportunity for anyone else wishing to provide public input to do so. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? I think we've worn everybody out. Hearing none, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. Do we have any questions from the board, or are we ready to consider adoption by resolution of the 2025 Coachella Valley Regional Urban Water Management Plan and the District Water Shortage Contingency Plan, and authorize staff to submit copies? I'm reading somebody's motion here. And authorize staff to submit copies of these documents to the California Department of Water Resources by the July 1, 2026 deadline, and further direct staff to file a notice of exemption with the Riverside County, Imperial County, and San Diego County clerks within 5 working days after adoption of these resolutions.
Was that a motion?
I made that motion.
I
That's my
second that
motion.
motion.
Okay.
I second your motion.
Thank you. When you get halfway in, you're like, I'm not going to say that again. All right. Any other discussion? Are we doing a roll call again on this? Don't need to?
You don't
All
need
right.
it.
We don't need it
We
for
won't,
this.
we won't
And
do it.
if I can just add, just for clarification, the resolution number is 2026-09. That would be adopted as part of this.
Oh. Okay.
So noted.
Yes, what she said. All in favor, say aye.
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 Passed 5-0?
Yes.
Did we get 5 votes there? Yeah, passed 5-0.
First one.
Thank you for your time.
President Powell, I just want to let you know that unfortunately I have to leave at 11:30.
Yeah, I know. Trying to move things along here. All right. Well, we're on to B. 8B. This is the tolling and waiver. This is a fairly perfunctory thing, right? We have to do it, but we've done it 10 other times.
More.
Robert?
Short for one.
Yes, sir. I think the board, most of you probably know what this topic is about. So we get our statement of charges from Department of Water Resources every year in connection with the costs for this agency to get water deliveries from the state. Unfortunately, the billing system isn't 100% accurate, let's just say. So every year when the auditors go through and do their audits, we have findings. And this tolling agreement really just allows the conversations to take place without the threat of litigation, so that we can iron ourselves, both Department of Water Resources and the state water contractor agencies can work through our differences. Right now, we're in the middle of trying to figure out, the resolution to a big batch of disputes. What to say? I think over the course of several years, I think the highest number of disputes was somewhere in the neighborhood of between 300 to 400. But I think through the course of time, as President Powell noted, we've had 10 amendments to this, and I think we've narrowed that number down to less than 100. I think before the end of the year, we're kind of hoping to get some resolution to a big batch of that through the dispute resolution process. So that's my request to see if the board would entertain to kind of continue these conversations take place. So this request will allow the agreement to extend to June 1st of 2028. So for the tolling. Happy to answer any questions if the board has any.
I'll make a motion to approve the 11th Amendment to the 2007 Trolling and Waiver Agreement.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Got that one done again. Next is 8C. Bill Walters. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Morning, President Powell, members of the board. Before you is a request to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services agreement with Corvell Enterprise Claims Incorporated to provide third-party administrative services for the district's self-insured workers' compensation program. The claims administrator is responsible for determining liability and complying with the California Department of Industrial Relations, Division of Workers' Compensation, including Labor Code, rules and regulations for self-insurance, and the California Administrative Code. The request is for a 3-year agreement in the amount of $274,173 and provides further authorization for 3 one-year contract option renewals in the amount of $290,953. The total authorization for this request, with the potential for a 6-year agreement, is $621,639, and that includes a 10% contingency allowance. The district did conduct an RFP process. We received 4 proposals. Out of those 4, 1 was deemed as non-responsive and to the scope of work. And the remaining 3 included the incumbent Corvell, as well as the AdminSure and American Claims Management. The proposals were based on cost, qualification, staffing, technical competence, and work plan. And the cost considerations consisted of, with 30% of the total score being based on cost, administration fees, bill review, and medical management services. Aside from having the lowest cost, Corvell's proposal excelled due to their 24/7 registered nurse hotline and their triage program. This helps us prevent minor injuries from escalating to major claims and reduces the unnecessary emergency room visits. Additionally, Corvell's use of AI technology far surpassed the other proposers, and they help us to understand and detect fraud, summarize medical records, and provide cost analysis and early risk identification. I'm happy to take any questions from the board.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve 8C?
I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Second. I second it. I beat you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Passed 5-0. Thank you, Bill. Written communications. We had I think there were 2 things in the log, right? I think. We have another public hearing. This has got to be a new record. 9B. Zachary Baldwin.
Zach, you up? Or Chris?
Public
Chris?
informational.
Yes.
Public hearing.
We're going to make this quick, though, right?
I have a few regulatory bases I have to cover per the bill, but I
Yes.
promise to speed along as well as I can. So, good morning. Gosh, good
Morning.
afternoon at this point. Director Sanchez, welcome to the group. All right, my name is Zachary Baldwin, just so we can introduce ourselves there. I'm an HR analyst here at the district. So why are we here? Starting January of last year, as you guys might remember, Assembly Bill 2561 went into effect, amending the Brown Act by adding Government Code Section 3502.3. In a nutshell, AB 2561 requires public agencies to present on 3 major topics: the status of their vacancies, their recruitment efforts, and their retention efforts. This presentation is required at least once every fiscal year prior to the adoption of the agency's final budget. The primary concern is to identify and address problem public agencies with unusually high vacancy rates within a single bargaining unit. That's to say vacancy rates of 20% or higher. The good news is that the district is well below that, as we'll see here shortly. Of the 3 major topics, I'll start with recruitment first. This is an abridged top-down view of our recruitment process. It's fairly straightforward. I won't dive too deep into it. First step is the requisition for the position is submitted for approval. Once approved, the job is posted and applications are received and filed. Following that, the next step is screening the applicants for experience, making sure they have any prerequisites required, certifications, educational minimums, etc. Next, we have our first round of interviews, as well as any testing that might be required for the position. Following that, we have our second round of interviews and the selection of a preferred candidate. Finally, we have a conditional job offer, and we can begin the pre-employment process, drug screening, onboarding paperwork, etc. Moving on to the data for recruitment. At the district, we have 570 budgeted positions. In the 2025 calendar year, 70 recruitments were posted. 65 of those vacancies were filled, 40 with new hires, 25 with promotions, leaving 5 unfilled. That gave the district an almost 93% recruitment success rate and a 4.7 district-wide vacancy rate. Speaking of vacancies and moving on from recruitment, broken. There we go. These are the district's represented vacancies and their status as of April 30th, 2026. I won't go into too much detail on the specific classifications. I'll just briefly pause on this slide. This slide is specific to the Teamsters Local 1932 unit, and there are 11 vacancies as of April 30th. Moving on to the next unit, Asset, which they have 8 vacancies. As of April 30th, 2026, the district has a 4.4% vacancy rate, and that's for all vacancies across all budgeted positions. Continuing with vacancy rates, now bargaining unit specific. As of April 30th, 2026, across 570 budgeted positions, the district has 19 represented vacancies. That gives the district a 4.47 represented vacancy rate. Out of the 428.5 Teamsters represented positions, there are 11 vacancies, gives them a 2.6 unit vacancy rate. Out of the 109 asset represented positions, the 8 vacancies give them a 7.3 unit vacancy rate. Moving on from vacancies to retention now. For the 2025 calendar year, the district retention rate was 98.7%. The district had 45 employees exit, giving us a turnover rate of 8.2%. Of those 45 employee exits, 23 were due to resignation, 18 retirements, and 4 terminations. So that being said, the overwhelming majority of separations in 2025 were voluntary. The district has a wide range of efforts to thank for its historically high retention rate, such as its culture of internal promotional opportunities, ongoing organizational growth, strong employee benefits packages, and competitive compensation. There are, of course, hiring challenges. That being said, the district is in a constant state of self-improvement, with reviewing our hiring policies, developing staff professionally, and improving the overall recruitment process.
That's pretty exciting. We should call
As quick as I could get it, guys. Any questions, any comments or concerns?
No.
So we would recommend that you formally open a public hearing, receive a public comment, and then close a public hearing. And it can be, I think staff mentioned that you fully notified the bargaining units about this.
Bargaining units were notified.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. So I'll officially open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to make comment at this time?
Your mic. I just turned it
You're the one. Somebody's been turning me off.
Turning you off.
Is there, I said I officially opened the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to comment at this time? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing.
So
Anything
this
else?
presentation is noted as received and filed.
Thank you.
Good job, Zach. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job. All right, so we have a tradition of doing board general comments, starting from the far end and working our way across. So Alex, if you have anything you wish to say on any topic under the sun, the floor is yours.
You can pass, though.
And
No,
you
I'm
can-
just glad to be here and be part of you guys, and thanks all for being here. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Just welcome Alex, no comments.
Yeah, ditto that. Welcome, Alex.
Welcome also.
Yeah, you kind of picked a good one to start on. They're not all like this, by the way. This is a beefy one. We did a lot of different things today. Do we have any board requests for future agenda items?
So I just wanted to follow up on. Sounds like we had 2 public comments regarding some requests for this board to get information on something that I don't think we have a lot of information on. And so I also know that maybe their schedules associated with potential contract awards, etc. So I heard some comments about certain things are on the agenda for next meeting. I don't know what those items are or what type of conversation we're going to be allowed to have during those items. I guess what I'm saying is, to the extent that we're getting ready to consider some awards of some of these things that have been brought up, maybe postpone that so that we can have a conversation, whatever conversation it is that we need to have to learn about the issue, maybe comment on the issue as appropriate. I don't know if we need to have closed session items on that, if we need to have an open session discussion on that, but I'm trying to be responsive to the comments that we heard today, so I'll just kind of, I'm going to open it up to see what maybe other board members feel about it, or if
Yeah, I mean,
Jim, maybe you
I mean,
need to.
I agree. I mean, staff needs to use some discretion if there's some things that can be deemed immaterial, and that's at their discretion. Then we should give people the benefit of the doubt, I think. So I don't know all the details and all these things, but I agree with you a little bit there.
I want to reassure the board that the staff exercises discretion where discretion is allowed by the existing board policies that are in place, that are approved by this board. In these particular cases, I think staff has notified the individuals that appeared as to what the problems were with the results that were analyzed. I think, at least as far as one of the items goes, it is scheduled. I think both items are actually scheduled to come back, although I was less sure about the water truck one than the security one. And the board is certainly encouraged to have comments during that time, because it is staff's responsibility to follow the procedures that are in place. And if 3 of the board members decide to change those procedures, that would be appropriate for staff to then modify. But I cannot entertain, individual requests from board members that don't comply with the policies the board has put in place for staff to follow. It creates inconsistencies, it creates the appearance of favoritism, or perhaps, anyway.
So both, at least in regard to the security services contract, both of them will come to the board for full analysis and discussion of the protest and the responses prior to any board action.
Correct. And we have been working with BBK on both items. So
I guess my question also along those lines is, I would like to hear fuller discussion around both of the issues that were raised today before we're asked to take a vote on those items. So as long as we're cool with that, then I'm fine proceeding.
yes, we could certainly do that with
And then
those
that
items.
goes to the schedule.
You're okay with having that discussion as the item is brought
Well,
forward?
I would like, no, I
Yeah,
would like
me
to,
either.
yeah, no, I would like to have the discussion in full and to hear from the 2 applicants, if you will, before we make any other decisions.
So, if I may,
Yeah.
in order to complete the story, you have had comments from folks that did not like the process, right? They have come forward asking for you to intervene on information they've already received from staff, which notifies them that their proposal was deficient in some way. And all staff is doing is following the board's procedures. If you want to have a discussion prior to an action by staff that you need to vote on, you probably ought to consider comments from both the individuals that were deficient and the individuals that could successfully receive the award, right? It's not just a one-sided story
Well,
here.
I mean, Jim, they're open meetings, right?
Correct.
Published agendas. So if that's something that would occur as a result of that, then I'm fine with that too.
So, I mean, we can certainly have, or staff can have, an item on the agenda to fully inform and discuss these matters to then be brought back to the next meeting if you don't want to feel as if you're voting on the contract at the same meeting where you're talking about what's been raised today.
I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So
gotta
we have two
postpone
meetings
those.
in June.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff. Just my concern is, I mean, primarily, honestly, I'm going to be gone until the 23rd. So I just don't want any action taken on this until I have a chance to be present.
Right. So that was leading to the other question about we do have two meetings in June, but Jim and Carla can talk about the attendance of board members and how you want to sequence that.
Right. And we would probably need to work with the vendors on a contract extension because I know at least the security services ends June 30th. And so I'm sure Dan and I can work with the vendor. We would definitely need a contract extension if the item is not going to be voted on the 9th of
Right.
June.
So you want us to tee up this informational item on the
23rd.
23rd?
23rd for both items.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And that's just for discussion, not for potential contract award.
That
So
would
we
come
wouldn't
at
be
the next
awarding
meeting
until
after
July.
that.
July.
That would occur.
Got it.
Are we going to notify the other bidders of this
discussion
before, rather than just hoping that they all look at the agenda every twice a month? I think we owe it to them.
Yeah,
to,
I mean, that'd be my recommendation that if we're going to hear from one side of the issue, then the people who would actually be impacted if something different was done need to be informed as
I
well.
think everyone.
They
I
could
think
be here.
everyone who responded should be notified.
Well, or at least the one that's been recommended for approval.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Makes
my
sense.
point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I
Is
just,
this, I mean, the other thing, is this something that is more appropriate for closed session? I mean, I don't,
Well, I think we can work with staff to determine if it's necessary for a closed session. We have such a long lead time before we get
I
to
just
the-
don't want to be told that, oh, you can't talk about this or that.
No,
and,
I understand.
You know,
I understand that. You will have full opportunity to discuss it in an open session, and if a closed session is necessary, we will work to get that done as well. But the goal is to have this as part of an open process because it's open to the public.
Correct.
The contractors know about it. The protests are public, and we don't want to have any, But yes, I promise not to cut you off from discussing this, Vice President.
yeah, I just don't know if that
Well.
platform is appropriate to get into like some
No, I get
details
it.
to staff.
I
and-
think it really it could be a little bit depending on what, because if we have public comments and somebody comes in and threatens to file a lawsuit,
Well, then the Brown Act does
that would
allow us
change, that
to
would
go
change
into.
the nature of how it's presented.
We'll provide that as an option as appropriate. Yes, absolutely. So that there will be a full discussion of all your options.
Thank you.
and then can I, for clarification, because the policy for the board to add an item is, we had the request from Director Estrada, and that was seconded by Director Aguilar. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, thank you.
And we don't need to vote on that.
You do not need to vote. I just need to second.
All right. So we'll get that. Next is meeting reports. Let's see if we can do these
Quickly.
Go ahead, John.
So attended the May 12th State of the City, Cathedral City. It's their typical format, talking about all their accomplishments for the prior year and what's coming up in the next year. And then also attended actually that same evening the Sky Valley Community Council meeting where we discussed the ID8 packed house. Jim and I and Costo all participated and answered questions. Went Scott was there as well.
Yeah. CRB, Director Estrada.
Yeah, I filled in for Mr. Nelson, and yeah, it was a long one. Very interesting. We had the usual reports. I think the thing that, well, as you've heard, it's a pretty bad situation with the hydrology, and it seems like we aren't really making too much progress with arrangements between the upper and the lower basin and the feds, and so I think that's moved us to try to propose a lower basin only proposal, which I think has been submitted, and we're hoping to get some responses here back soon, maybe from The feds.
That lower basin proposal includes federal funding, correct?
Yes, I believe it includes that additional monies.
Yeah.
Yes, that we've talked about before. So
It doesn't work without federal funding.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Right.
And so that was we had it was an interesting presentation too by San Diego County Water Authority. They're sending a lot of their water to Eastern Municipal Water District, and so that was very interesting to see. There was some comments that I found very interesting as it relates to what they're calling interstate transfers. I think they said that that's never happened before, but they're exploring that, and I think they're trying to make use of all their water that they're desalinating. So, anyways, interesting. And then we also had a conversation regarding the Colorado River Authority. There was some conversation about shifting cost and who's in, who's out. Anyways, we have to resolve some concerns with LADWP. So I think that's something that we're gonna tackle over the next year, hopefully. Aside from that, that was pretty much it.
Thank you. CVCC Director Bianco.
I was unable. I had
Okay.
a family emergency.
Okay. We had the special board meeting on the 18th. That's noted. We had these board member interviews with our audit firm. We were actually on the call together, Director Aguilar and myself. Good questions, good answers, right?
Staff commendation to David and Carl.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. May 20th, Disadvantaged Communities. That was a call. I was on it. I don't think I said anything on it, but I was on it.
I was in Sacramento, so I was not able to attend.
Okay. Well, we covered all the usual stuff. May 21st, Salton Sea Authority.
Yeah, that regular meeting, we went over the budget. So
Approved the budget.
that was budget, and looks good. Had a pretty lengthy conversation about some things that we need to do with the state in order to move some of the money that we had secured via Prop 68. We're going to give it back to the state for them to use on one of their projects, which is also located in the North Lake area. But with that, I think we're going to get $200,000 over the next 3 years. So something that we need to work on there, sending letters and such for the. I believe we have to get to like the May revise or something. And then there's a separate ask that we're going after. I think it's for $5 million. Aside from that, we just had some pretty lengthy conversation on reporting back on how the first meeting on the Conservancy went. And aside from that, I think that was pretty much it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other meetings we need to report on? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve per diem for those meetings reported?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Pass 5-0. General manager report.
I have nothing this morning, sir.
Okay.
And I will pass as well.
Any department reports? Hearing none.
No, sir.
At this time, the board will recess into closed session to consider those items listed on the agenda. Following that, we will reconvene to report out. Regular meeting is reconvened. We have no reportable action from closed session, and with no further business, we are adjourned.